Veterans Memorial Stadium in Jackson, Mississippi is where we are for Homecoming 2006 as the Tigers of Jackson State host the Panthers of Prairie View in a 1AA SWAC matchup presented by City. Let's check out the SWAC standings in the final weeks of the regular season. In the Eastern Division, Alabama A&M controls its own destiny in its hopes of getting back to the SWAC championship game. Mississippi Valley still has a chance mathematically, as does Jackson State. In the Western Division, Arkansas Pine Bluff needs a win in its last 2 games to make it to its first ever appearance in the SWAC championship. Hello again, everyone. Charlie Neal along with former NFL linebacker Eddie Robinson, and we'd like to welcome you to Jackson, Mississippi. And when you look at this Jackson State team, Eddie, you're looking at a team that's won as many games this year with a win today as they did in the previous 3 years.
Yeah, Coach Rick Comegys is doing a resurgence with the Jackson State Tigers. I mean, if they win today combined with an Alabama A&M loss, they could possibly still make it into the SWAC championship game. But if you look at the Jackson State program, their last title was in 1996, but in the 80s, they won 7 out of the 10 of the SWAC championship games.
When you look at the reason for the resurgence, it's not just the coaching staff, a brand new coaching staff brought in this year, but the play of that young man, Jimmy Oliver, who not only leads his team in passing, but also in rushing.
Yeah, 1,595 passing yards, 475 rushing yards, but I really like is 230 total yards per game, and of course that's first in the conference. He's been a little inconsistent, but if he can have a good first and second half, he can put up a lot of points for the Jackson State Tigers.
And Jimmy Oliver can't afford to make the mistakes he made a week ago in their loss to Alabama A&M, because he's going up against a Prairie View A&M team defense that's ranked nationally in several categories.
Yeah, and every game they've played this year have been extremely close games, and that's because the defense always seems to come up with extremely big plays. They're 15th in the nation in total defense, and what I like is they're 7th in the nation in sacks. And of course, we have to go to Jermaine McGee, who had 6.5 sacks on the year, who's ranked 2nd in the conference, and he's a really big player who would be after Jimmy Oliver all day.
49th time Prairie View and Jackson State have met. Both are looking to snap consecutive game losing streaks, and the Jackson State fans are hoping their team comes away with a homecoming victory. We'll be back with the opening kickoff in a moment. Mississippi college football presented by City. Prairie View against Jackson State in this SWAC 1AA matchup. Let's look at the series between these two teams. It began way back in 1953. The last time they met was a year ago down in Prairie View, Texas, and Prairie View came out victorious. It was their first win over Jackson State since 1971. Jackson State leads the all-time series in the matchup. Jackson State will receive the opening kick. Carlton Brown and L.D. Briscoe are deep.
Ball's on the ground.
And it's on the ground, and Brown picks it up. Brown trying to get some running room. And Jackson State in the home dark jerseys, the visiting white jerseys being worn by Prairie View as Quentin Kellum came up to make the stop. Here's our quarterback for Jackson State, Jimmy Oliver, junior from Columbia, Mississippi. Transferred in here from Pearl River Community College. He's out of Marion High there. He was the player of the week against Arkansas Pine Bluff, in which he threw 408 yards in that particular game. Ran and 3 touchdowns. Also ran for 112. In fact, the only 100-yard rusher on this Jackson State team this season. Leads his team not only in rushing, and he also, of course, leads them in passing, and on first down, he hands off to Kennebrew, and Kennebrew trying to go off the left side, picks up a couple of yards. And let's look at the offensive alignment for the Tigers of Jackson State with the running backs and the receivers. Hall along with Pittman, Marcel Frost is a tight end, Chris Johnson and Jamar Johnson are the receivers. As far as the offensive line is concerned, Manigat, Eric Jones, Lorenzo Breland, William Davis, and Jonathan Silas are the men up front charged with doing the blocking. Second down. And the handoff this time goes to Jamal Pittman. And Pittman, a couple of more yards. He'll be about a yard shy of a first down as we look at Prairie View's defense led by Jermaine McGee, a good one, along with Marcus King, Anthony Nunley, and John Johnson, the down lineman, the linebackers Van Salier, Zach East, and Chandre Ward, and the secondary Joseph Fontenot, Anthony Beck, Val Ford, and Jason Fobbs.
Very good Prairie View defense. They've been keeping them in games all year long.
Here's the pitch to Kennebrew. Left side has the first down across the 35 to the 37-yard line. So they move the chains forward on their first third down conversion. That is the Tigers of Jackson State. Gib Dungy came up to make the stop for Prairie View. There you see number 45, Van Salier there, also a senior out of Port Arthur, Texas, in Memorial High.
Good third down conversion for the Tigers, coming out with 3 straight runs. You would think Jimmy Oliver wants to get this thing going in the passing game sooner or later.
One lone setback behind him this time. They come to the right side. Here's Kennebrew again, breaking tackles and across the 45 to the 46-yard line before he's stopped by Sam Robinson. And number 55 also up there to make the stop. Revolta. Ronaldo, the linebacker, redshirt freshman, as you look at Oliver right there.
Yeah, and Jimmy Oliver, I mean, he's a guy that started off great the last couple of games in the first half, but you can tell, I mean, he's been tailing off. A couple of interceptions and turnovers in the second half of the games. And last week they were up 21-6 against Alabama A&M, and they wound up losing that ball game because of turnovers.
Kennebrew straight up the middle. Kennebrew still on his feet, or is that Kennebrew? No, that is not Kennebrew this time. On the carry for Jackson State, number 22 on the carry, and that's Jeremy Kitchens. And Cameron Thibodeau made the stop.
Yeah, you can see Jeremy Kitchens. He just gets to the second level of the defense extremely fast. He's a senior, 5'7", 185 out of Florence, so he's a speedy guy. Doesn't have a lot of carries, but he's also another back that they have to attack this Prairie View A&M defense.
Kitchens gets the carry, and it's another first down this time. They're going straight into the gut of the defense of Prairie View. In fact, they're testing this defense, who's ranked pretty good against the stop, as Kitchens again on the carry, and McGee was there to make the stop defensively.
And just coming out with all running plays, the Jackson State Tigers are, so you have to be careful, of course, on play action. But with the windy conditions today, I would expect both teams, of course, Prairie View has a good running game, to try to really get things going on the ground.
In motion this time is Pittman. Here's the pitch to the left side to Kitchens. Kitchens turns the corner across inside the 30 to the 29-yard line, where Chandre Ward was there defensively for the stop. Look at Jeremy Kitchens, 5'7", 185-pound senior. He is from Florence, Mississippi. Eric Hall has been banged up with an ankle, and that's why we haven't seen him so far. He was the kid that transferred in here from Ohio State. And they have a lot of promise for him.
Yeah, we talked to him yesterday. He said he was around 80 to 85%. And hey, once you get into the game, you're 100%. But he's back in the game now. We'll see if he gets a touch or not.
Triple I formation, something we don't see that often.
Not very often.
Pittman is the up back in the I. Given to the third back through, and that's Eric Hall. We just talked about him, and Eric Hall goes nowhere. That was a third down play, and Abdusula was there to make the stop. Kingsley defensively. Kingsley Abdusula.
Man, Prairie View A&M, I mean, these guys have been in every ball game. They've lost by 3 points here, 7 points there, and it's mainly because of this defense. I mean, they get after it on defense. Like we said earlier, they have a lot of the statistical leads in a lot of different categories, and they play extremely good defense here. So Jackson State will be tested when they get into this red zone and they try to score.
It's a 4th down and 3 situation. They're second in the SWAC in 4th down conversions this year, 7 of 10. Let's see if they're going to go for it or try to pull the defense off sides. They're going to go for it, and I don't know if they're going to make it.
It's close.
It's going to be very, very close. I think the defense held for Prairie View. That was a great defensive stand right there on that 4th and 3 situation, led by Chandre Ward. Van Salier also there to stop the run.
And it wasn't even close. I mean, they didn't even need to measure that. So great stop by Prairie View. I mean, that's just like a turnover when you stop a team on 4th down. So Jackson State able to drive the ball on all running plays, but Prairie View getting tough on the 4th down play. And just like a turnover, now they get their possession to start their opening drive.
From their own 28-yard line, the Panthers of Prairie View get the ball for the first time today, as Chris Gibson is their starter, the junior from Forestville, Maryland. Came over with Coach Henry Frazier when he took the job from, as he had been at Prairie View, should say at Bowie State before he took the job at Prairie View. And There's Mr. Gibson. 410 yards passing this year. He's his third year as a quarterback. He backed uphill last year. Threw for 143 yards a year ago. Split time with Hill in 04. It is second down. After the gain of 4, 2nd and 6. Harmon was the man in motion. They give off to Kerry Wilson, and Kerry Wilson finds the going very, very difficult. Corey Clark there defensively as we look at the backs and receivers with Harris. Kerry Wilson, who just carried. Nokobia is the wide receiver along with Adia. And tight end is Marlon Allen. The offensive line, Deal, Roy Colley, Steve Jackson, Wesley Yarborough.
Of course, the Panthers are a true running team. I mean, they lead the conference in rushing, and that's what they want to do. 3rd and long situations are always tough on these guys.
Back to pass is Gibson. Lets it go. Has it complete. But not a first down, and we got a flag downfield. It is complete. Good stop by Carlton Brown defensively after the pass was caught.
Yeah, very good tackle by
Allen.
Yeah, very good tackle by Brown, stopping them from getting that first down. But that flag is in the defensive secondary, so you never know what that could be.
Marlon Allen, the freshman tight end from Stafford, Texas, was the man on the reception. Our referee today is Greg Edwards, and he says holding against Jackson State. Listen.
Holding, 27, defense, 10-yard penalty. The penalty is enough for first down.
Marcio Levy guilty of the holding penalty. Jackson State is the most penalized team in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Came in averaging 91 yards in penalties a game. Not a stat you're proud of. From the shotgun this time. Going off to the right side with the running play. Let's look at the defense for the Tigers of Jackson State. The defensive line, Rasheed, Clark, Owens, and Archie. The linebackers, Levy, Dancy, Brooks, and Woodard. And the secondary, Camp, Brown, and Hedgeman. Levy is a combination, strong safety linebacker. It'll be second down. Back to pass as Gibson has some time. Throws incomplete. Good defense downfield, and covering on the play was Levy. Levy was a young man who was suspended, did not play against Alabama A&M because he broke some team rules, and he gets to start today.
Yeah, and he's actually a strong safety who, free safety who moved to strong safety now. I mean, that ball was a little off, but good coverage by Levy. So we'll see how Jackson State is able to fare on this third down. Of course, they just gave up a third down conversion because of a penalty just a couple plays ago.
26% on third downs for Prairie View this year.
3rd and 6, Prairie View.
And they're facing a 3rd and 6 now right at the 45-yard line. And here's an option play by the quarterback, Gibson, and he goes nowhere. The defense rose to the occasion that time. Daniel Brooks was there to beat him, number 2 defensively.
Yeah, and you have the #1 rushing defense in the conference, and you can see it. That's what they like to do. They like to bring guys in the box and stop the run. Never had a chance of getting the first down on that play.
Yeah, young man Daniel Brooks. They've got a lot of Division I transfers on this Jackson State team, and as a young man that came over from Tennessee, playing a big game tonight against Arkansas. Tennessee is, and there's a punting situation for Prairie View. Fair catch call for after the punt. So when we come back, Jackson State will have the ball for the second time.
Using only my City Premier Pass credit card, I earn rewards points crazy fast, and I will do it restrained with this restraining device. I start with the points for buying my ticket and Victor's ticket, then earn points for my miles and his. Unbelievable. Using only the City Premier Pass credit card, I rock the house. Big time. Rewarding. Very, very, very rewarding.
From the fields of glory where Saturday afternoon legends are born to the pageantry and passion, it's time for college football. Now you can bring that passion and pride home with Fathead. So put away that foam finger and slap up a Fathead. With schools from all the big-time college football powerhouses, Fathead wall graphics are classic collectibles made for only real fans. It's easy to put up, just peel and place in any home or office. Fathead can take a hit. Printed on strong, durable vinyl, Fathead is the only wall graphic that actually lets you move it over and over again all season long.
Looks like this little fella's ready.
So big and real, you can't find them in a store. There's only one place to get them, fathead.com. Officially licensed by the Collegiate Licensing Company, NASCAR, the NBA, the NFL, and Players Inc. Fathead.com is where you can also find all your favorite players and teams. Call or go online at fathead.com today. Check out our special season pricing and be the ultimate fan of your team. Fathead. Go big. Real big.
We got some more updates for you here in the Sports Center U studios. Texas.
Back here in Jackson, Mississippi for homecoming 2006. We're at Veterans Memorial Stadium, Jackson State. A long storied tradition. Some great players have come through this institution over the years. And 3 of them are in the Hall of Fame. Lem Barney, one of them, along with Walter Payton, of course, and Jackie Slater, the latest to go into the NFL Hall of Fame. First down and 10 for the Tigers of Jackson State. No score in the ball game. We're in the first quarter here. And here's a late handoff. They finally somehow got to Jeremy Kitchens. It looked like it was a little mix-up there in the backfield as we look at the tradition of Jackson State football that started in 1946. They've won 386 games, 11 postseason appearances, and 15 Southwestern Athletic Conference titles.
Yeah, Charlie, and 7 of those titles came in the decade of the 80s, of course, when they had the great coach W.C. Gordon and all the great players during that era. And that's when I played in the conference. They used to beat up on everyone pretty good.
Yes, indeed. Second down and 8 after the gain of 2 on Kitchens' last run. Here's a little play action. First time we've seen Oliver roll out the pass, and this one is behind the intended receiver. Frost was the intended receiver, number 8, Marcel Frost, and Val Ford was covering downfield.
Yeah, of course, Frost is another one of those transfers from Ohio State, and he's a big kid, 6'5", 255, and looked good in practice yesterday. Someone that you can definitely stretch the defense with. Prairie View was there with the coverage from Val Ford.
So another third down conversion facing the Tigers of Jackson State. They're third in the conference in third down conversions at 39%. 3rd and 8 from the shotgun this time.
Pressure.
Oliver too high for the intended receiver Carlos Simpson. Val Ford covering defensively, so it'll bring up a punting situation for the Tigers of Jackson State. Their punter is Brett Bennett. He's averaging 39 yards per punt. He had a 64-yarder this year against Texas Southern. Deep man to return the kick is Anthony Whedon, a freshman from Stafford, Texas. Here they come. They almost got to it. Whedon will field it all the way back at his 25-yard line. Trying to get some running room and goes straight ahead, gets it up to the 35. Kerry Hoskins on the stop. 5:31 left, first quarter. No score here in the first quarter. 5:31 to go. It's gone pretty quickly so far, Eddie. ESPNU is at Cameron Indoor Stadium Sunday night for the CBE Classic and a college basketball doubleheader. First at 6 Eastern, UC Davis and the Aggies face the Georgia Southern Eagles. Then at 8 Eastern, the Cameron Crazies get rowdy as the Duke Blue Devils, led by Josh McRoberts, host the Columbia Lions. It's the CBE Classic right here on ESPNU Sunday. For more information, log on to ESPNU.com. Along with Eddie Robinson, Charlie Neal, here in Veterans Memorial Stadium in Jackson, Mississippi for homecoming 2006. Prairie View with their second possession. First down and 10 at their own 35-yard line. Second back through, getting the call is Arnell Fontenot. And Fontenot for about 4 yards up to about the 39-yard line. First time he's carried today. The junior from Houston, Texas. Came into the game with 424 yards. He stopped by Brooks.
Yeah, and Fontenot was the main guy for Prairie View for quite some time, and he had a couple of injuries and fumbled the ball last week in the big loss, but he's a guy that can still get the job done. I mean, Calvin Harris is the starter now, but you'll see a couple backs for Prairie View today as they try to wear down this Jackson State defense.
And again, Fontenot gets the carry, tries to bounce it to the outside, but nothing doing that time as he's met right away by John Archie, number 13. Archie, a defensive end senior from Canton, Mississippi. He's another one of those Division I transfers, comes out of Southern Miss.
Yeah, and Archie has 14.5 tackles for loss and 4 sacks. I mean, he's an extremely good pass rusher guy, but he's also good against the run.
Yeah, you saw a shot of Coach Rick Comegys, first year as a head man here in Jackson. Third down, we'll call it 4. Here's a delay handoff to Fontenot, and Fontenot is going to be about a half a yard shy because Archie was there to make sure he didn't get to that first down marker on that third down attempt.
Yeah, I mean, he read it perfectly. I mean, in that situation, you have to look at the quarterback and also the runner, but he made the right decision. The quarterback handed it off. Of course, he made the tackle. Now it's a 4th down situation for Prairie View.
And they're going to go for it.
I like the call.
On their side of the 50-yard line at the 44-yard line. It is 4th down. We got offsides, or was there movement? There might have been offsides against the defense.
Yeah, that was a Peyton Manning hard count right there. I mean, he went at him real hard. He got everyone to jump. I think I jumped up here in the booth a little bit.
This Prairie View team, they're ranked 5th in the conference in time of possession. And it's offsides against Jackson, so that's going to move the chains forward and give Prairie View a first down.
And that's the second time that Jackson State has given up a first down by penalty.
Prior to the snap, offside, 97 defense, made contact, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Corey Clark offside. He was the first one, but he had help with a lot of blue jerseys.
It was dealer's choice on that one. He had a couple of numbers that were offside. Great call by Prairie View, lining up and getting them to jump in that situation.
From their own 49 on 1st and 10, Gibson in trouble, sacked in the backfield, and Daniel Brooks was right there to make the stop. So the loss is about 5 yards. It'll be 2nd and 15. 3:13 the time remaining here. First quarter, no score. As you saw Daniel Brooks come up, he's a kid we talked about earlier. He played 13 games while he was a member of the volunteer program. Came out of Jackson Central High. He was one of the top prospects coming out of high school here in Jackson, Mississippi. 2nd down and long yardage, and Kerry Wilson gets the call this time. And he gets about 3 of that back. So it'll bring up a 3rd down. 3rd and about 13.
It'll be interesting to see the call. I mean, here in the 2nd down play, Prairie View is just trying to get a couple yards so you get into a 3rd down situation where you can make something happen. But talking to the defense coordinator for Jackson State, he said we may not blitz Prairie View a lot because they have a young quarterback, somewhat inexperienced. We'll just play zone coverage and maybe force him to make a mistake.
They're working out of the shotgun. This time the pass is caught and dropped in and out of the hands of Osaz Edia, who had it. The freshman out of Austin, Texas, Davy Crockett High. And it'll bring up a 4th down punting situation for the Panthers of Prairie View. 2nd time today that they've had to punt. And back to punt is Eric Hernandez, who's done it all for them this year. He was a SWAC Special Teams Player of the Week against Pine Bluff a week ago. Averaged 42 yards a punt, put 2 inside the 20, had a 58-yarder to his credit.
The win today, he may get another 58-yarder.
He gets it at his back. Boy, he puts a lot of hang time up there. Fair catch being called for, dropped. Maybe it wasn't a fair catch, but anyway, it was fielded and finally held on to by Jackson State's Jamar Johnson. Still no score. Homecoming 2006 here on the campus, or I should say in Jackson, Mississippi. about 5 miles away from the campus of Jackson State. And Aaron Gray and the Panthers start the college hoop season Sunday on ESPNU against the Western Michigan Broncos in the Maggie Dixon Classic, honoring Pittsburgh coach Jamie Dixon's sister, who passed away last season. It's the Maggie Dixon Classic on ESPNU Sunday at noon Eastern. And for more information, log on to ESPNU.com. Along with Eddie Robinson, Charlie Neal, glad you could join us for this homecoming 2006. Jackson State with the ball for the 3rd time, operating from their own 24-yard line. 1st down and 10. They give the ball off to Eric Hall, and Hall's to the outside, has a 1st down with plenty to spare, and finally run out of bounds by Val Ford, but not before he gets the 1st down up to the 46-yard line, a gain of 22 yards.
Wow, good job of Eric Hall. I mean, just kind of sifting through the traffic and finding the hole. It's a counter play. It's a design cutback. You see the fullback goes left. Is no one is soft in the middle, but then he takes it back to the left and uses that speed to get outside.
So from their own 46-yard line is where they will work now. 1st down and 10. Big run there by Hall. And Hall gets the call again. His longest run prior to that 24-yarder was 19 yards this year.
You know, you see Jackson State, I mean, they're content to pound the ball because they're having success running against Prairie View. But keep in mind, I mean, Jimmy Oliver has thrown for 1,595 yards and 11 touchdowns. So it's somewhat unexpected for them to come out running the ball quite as much as they are.
Talking about Eric Hall in his season opener this year in his debut here, he ran for, or had 4 touchdowns. He ran for 3 1/4 touchdown pass. Here's pressure on the quarterback. Oliver lets it go, just throws it away. Nobody there. He was really getting some pressure downfield from number 47, Kingsley Abdulsula.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I mean, these Prairie View Panthers, man, they get a lot of sacks, a lot of pressure from guys like McGee and John Johnson. And the play fake, nobody bought it. So at that situation, hey, you're on your own. I mean, once that doesn't work, it kind of breaks down. But that's what makes Jimmy Oliver special. 475 rushing yards. He can get out of trouble. And usually, most quarterbacks, that would have been a 10-yard loss. Instead, he gets it back to the line of scrimmage, incomplete pass, still 3rd and 10.
Now, we haven't seen him take off and run with the ball today, and I asked Coach Comagee yesterday, is a lot of that by design, or does he just have happy feet? And he said a lot of it is by design.
Guy like that, you want to get him out of the pocket sometime.
And he's trying to set up the screen, and he do. And they get it downfield to Carlos Simpson, and Simpson has the 1st down to the 41-yard line before Val Ford, who we've called his name quite a bit today, came up to make the stop.
Yeah, and Carlos Simpson, I mean, you look in the program, he's just listed as athlete. I mean, this guy can just move. You can see he can make people miss. The big guys are up front. And what that was, they faked the bubble screen to the outside, and then they just snuck him in behind those big linemen underneath. Very well-designed play. And Carlos Simpson, man, he gets into the open field. He's very exciting.
Yes, sophomore from Detroit, transferred from the University of Cincinnati. Another one.
Everyone's transferred from somewhere.
Nobody was homegrown, huh? Simpson's in motion. And here's a quarterback decides to keep it, Oliver. We saw them work on this play yesterday in practice, where a lot of times in that situation where you saw Simpson go in motion, they will hand off to him. This is the ball is snapped to the quarterback, Oliver, and then he'll hand off as a double reverse.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they have a lot of things you can do with that misdirection for the defense, and you have some good athletes. You have a guy like Jimmy Oliver and Carlos Simpson who can also throw the ball. I mean, you can have a lot of fun on offense drawing up those kind of plays.
They're talking about Simpson. He was what they call a dream team player coming out of high school in Detroit. St. Martin de Porres. He was a quarterback there. Also was a point guard on the basketball team. And that's going to be the end of the 1st quarter here at Veterans Memorial Stadium in Jackson, Mississippi. Homecoming 2006. No score between the Tigers of Jackson State and the Panthers of Prairie View. The Tigers threatening, though. They have the ball in Prairie View territory.
White.
As we start the 2nd quarter here in Jackson, Mississippi, homecoming 2006, Jackson State Tigers with the ball at the 41-yard line of Prairie View. No score in the ball game. Jimmy Oliver directing the offense for Coach Rick Comagee, and his head coaching debut as far as homecoming on the Jackson State campus is concerned. And from the shotgun, Oliver letting it fly. Man wide open at the 5. Touchdown, Jackson State. Christopher Johnson. on the reception. Christopher Johnson takes it in, 41 yards.
That's one of those balls where the whole time you see it in the air, you're saying, hey, just don't drop it. Just don't drop it. You're praying. And you can see, obviously, a blown coverage by the Prairie View defense. Christopher Johnson gets behind everyone, and no one's home. And way to start the game, would start this second quarter by Jimmy Oliver.
And now on for the point after touchdown will be Eric Perry. Perry is 14 of 18 in PATs. The team is out 6-0 right now, trying to make it a 7-0 ball game. Kick is blocked. The kick is blocked. So we may have a penalty flag down. Let's see. We may get another chance. That was a 76-yard drive by Jackson State.
Prior to the snap, false start, 78, offense, 5-yard penalty, repeat the try.
And that's one of those situations where the penalty actually was advantageous to the offense. Because the false start kills the play, and so the block doesn't count.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't.
But look at Jimmy Oliver right here. I mean, he just sits back. Hey, no one's going to cover him. I'm going to throw it to my man there, Chris Johnson, number 18, wide open in the middle of the field. I'm sure that was a mental error by one of the Prairie View Panthers, because you always have to protect that deep middle of your football field.
This will be a 25-yard extra point. It's like a field goal here. And again, Perry will attempt it. The last one was blocked, but the penalty nullified the attempt. And this kick is up. It just gets through. He made it, though. And it's 7-0. First play of the second quarter. And Jackson State gets on the scoreboard. Here's Chris Johnson. He had the touchdown, his third reception for a touchdown.
In May of 2006, disaster struck on Mount Everest. Events from the second deadliest season on record made news around the world. And the Discovery Channel was there. Now, find out what happened firsthand as Discovery takes you back to the top of the world.
It's ridiculous. How people come here to die?
Everest Beyond the Limit begins Tuesday at 10 on the Discovery Channel.
The best coach I ever had was my dad. Practice. He taught me that the fundamentals, together with hard work, make anything possible. And now it's time to teach others what my dad taught me.
Introducing Steve Nash's MVP Basketball, the only DVD program that makes back-to-back MVP Steve Nash your personal coach. You'll learn Steve's fundamental training secrets to give you a competitive edge on the court.
I don't think there's anybody in the NBA that does it any better than Steve Nash.
What an opportunity to have Steve Nash as your child's personal coach.
This program is about the fundamentals of basketball, and Steve Nash knows the fundamentals of basketball.
Order two-time MVP Steve Nash's MVP Basketball program for the low introductory price of only $29.95. Act now and you'll receive a second DVD, Steve's Team Play and Practice Organization. Perfect for the parent coach, absolutely free. But it's not available in stores, so you must act now.
Chris Johnson came into the game for the Tigers of Jackson State with 2 touchdown receptions this year. Just picked up his third. That's only his 16th catch of the year. He made it a good one. He played 2 years at Hines Junior College before coming over to Jackson State. He's a product of Murrah High right here in Jackson, Mississippi.
That's the one thing you have to do. I mean, Coach Comagese does get a lot of transfers from a lot of Division I schools, but you still have to recruit your base. I mean, they have Provine High School, Lanier High School, Murrah, a lot of good high schools here in this Jackson area. So I'm sure that's another source for him to get additional players to help this program get back to where everyone expects it to be at.
Evan Muriel, the junior from Bradenton, Mississippi. Brandon, Mississippi, actually. Will kick it off. From the 10-yard line. On the return is Jason Fobbs, and Fobbs gets it out to about the 29-yard line before Ken Woodard was there to make the stop defensively.
We'll see if Prairie View can answer that scoring drive. I mean, of course, they're the #1 rushing offense in the conference, and that's what they want to do. But at some point, you want to sneak into play action here and there. So only down 7-0, no time to panic.
As you look at Rick Comegee, Coach of the Year in 2000 as the head man at Tuskegee. Had a very good career there, 10 years as the head coach of Tuskegee. And here's the late handoff, trying to go to the left side with Calvin Harris. Corey Clark there defensively. Rick Comegee's first season. Look at his record, 113 wins. His first year as a head coach was at Cheney University up in Philadelphia area. He was from Millersville College, and he went 0-22 his first 2 years as a head coach. He had to be saying, why am I doing this?
You can't get discouraged. Got to keep fighting. But he's a great coach. I mean, couldn't have been a better fit for this Jackson State program. They fell on hard times and just does a good job.
Here's a reverse, and now a pass out to the flat to the quarterback, Gibson, who was down after no gain.
Sorry, that looked like one of my flag football plays right there. It was a double reverse in the pass. I think he was trying to go deep, but then it went back to the quarterback.
Yeah, it did.
Trying to make something out of nothing.
Well, Spivey was the man who threw it, who was also a quarterback in this Prairie View offense. As you look at Rick Comegee's, we talked about his record, 2 years at Cheney. He went 0-22 in 90 and 91. Then he spent 2 years at Central State as the head coach. He was an assistant prior to that, where he went 18-3, and in 94 and 95 they went to the NAIA playoffs, won the NAIA title in 1995. Third down, 3rd and 10, and we get movement on the offensive side of the ball.
And you know, Charlie, part of that transition of getting this Jackson State program going is he took a lot of his assistants from Tuskegee and brought them up here at Jackson State with him to ease the transition.
Prior to the snap, false start, 6-9 offense, 5-yard penalty, remains 3rd down.
Dalen Deal, the tackle, was the man who moved prematurely. While he was at Tuskegee, those 10 years, he compiled a record of 90-26, won 4 SIAC titles and a Black National Championship in the year 2000, and that team went 12-0.
I mean, you're averaging 9 wins a season. Wow, that's very impressive.
Gibson with some running room. Now he's going to let it go. Incomplete. And he was being pressured there by Daniel Brooks. Look at the pressure that Daniel Brooks, the linebacker, put on him. Number 2.
I mean, you can see the pocket breaks down right away. Gibson is able to get out and trying to direct traffic, but hey, when those big guys are coming, you don't have a lot of time to make a decision.
So for the 3rd time this afternoon, Prairie View will punt it away. Deep man for Jackson State. And not much going that way for Carlos Simpson, and we get a
ball on the ground
and the first turnover of the ball game, and it goes to Prairie View.
And that was a situation, man, the return guy, he had 4 Panthers surrounding him. I would have fair catched that ball. I mean, but you can like his courage, but man, you have to be smart sometimes. Look at all of the Panthers right there. The ball is on the ground. Good heads-up job for Prairie View recovering that football.
Now let's see if they can do anything with it. They have great field position at the 35 of Jackson State, their deepest penetration so far today. Let's see if they can convert. First down and 10 for the Panthers after the turnover. The ball was dropped by Carlos Simpson. And we get movement on the defensive side of the ball, and we may have a 5-yard penalty against the Tigers of Jackson State as Jonathan Harris moved a little prematurely and made contact with an offensive lineman.
Yes, Chris Gibson is doing a good job of working the hard count against this Jackson State defense today.
Prior to the snap, offside, 94 defense, made contact, 5-yard penalty, remains 1st down.
And keep in mind, you know, Prairie View beat Jackson State last year for the first time in how many years? Wow, probably a couple of decades.
Yeah, it was quite a while.
And so, I mean, that wasn't taken very lightly around these parts. I mean, they were very upset with that loss. I mean, the Prairie View's a program that's been struggling for quite some time. Coach Frazier gives him credit for trying to turn things around, but still, the Jacksonian fans do not believe they're supposed to lose to the Prairie View Panthers.
No, indeed. Calvin Harris on the last carry. We'll call it 2nd down and 1. Jackson State's been penalized 4 times today for 76 yards already. Harris trying to get to the 1st down mark and doesn't get there. So to bring up a 3rd down is again there to make the stop defensively is John Archie. Archie right there, the man on the spot.
Yeah, you're talking about the #1 rushing defense in the conference, only giving up 102 yards per game. I mean, you can tell it's a team effort. I mean, Prairie View is the leading rushing team in the conference, but Jackson State so far, I mean, they're winning that battle. They're stuffing the Panthers up front in that run game.
So it's 3rd down and 1 once again for Prairie View. Prairie View came in 26% on 3rd down conversions.
This must be some type of special play because Chris Gibson was all the way at the bottom of that wristband when he was trying to figure out which play it was. I don't know if it's a double reverse pass again, but it can't be a normal quarterback draw, I wouldn't think.
Prairie View decides to call a timeout and talk things over with the brain trust on the sideline. Henry Frazier and his crew. Henry Frazier, the head coach, is also the offensive coordinator. Don't forget women's college basketball on ESPNU begins Sunday as the Ohio State Buckeyes, led by 2-time Big Ten Player of the Year Jessica Davenport, face the Army Black Knights in the Maggie Dixon Classic. It's women's college basketball on ESPNU Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. For more information, log on to ESPNU.com. Prairie View, one of the 6 founding schools of the SWAC back in 1920, and the only team that's left. The others were Paul Quinn, who dropped out in 1929. Bishop College left in 1956. Sam Houston was there. They left in 59. Wiley and Texas Colleges left in 1968. Alcorn joined the SWAC in 62. The last team to join, or last 2 teams to join, were Arkansas Pine Bluff in 97 and Alabama A&M in 1999. And Alabama A&M very close to getting to that SWAC championship game again as they keep the ball on the ground trying to get that 1st down. Looks like they got it with the run straight ahead.
Prairie View is eking out yards. I mean, I really like this Jackson State rushing defense. I mean, Prairie View's going to be persistent. I know Coach Frazier from his days at Bowie State, he wants to run the football, so he's not to get discouraged because they're not having a lot of success early on. But I really like the way Jackson State is able to stuff this run. I mean, they're giving up 1 yard at a time on the rushing game.
#1 rushing offense in the conference going against the #1 rushing defense in the conference. So something's going to have to give, right?
At some point.
From the 25-yard line, 1st down and 10 Prairie View. Again, Harris on the carry inside the 20 to about the 17-yard line. Calvin Harris on the carry before Tamarcio Levy, the safety, made the stop defensively.
Calvin Harris, he's a guy that's come on lately. I mean, he's just a freshman, but he's doing really good. Has 374 rushing yards coming into this game, and they gave him a little nickname. They call him Scooter now because he just kind of scoots through the holes and makes people miss. But a lot of good running backs for Prairie View. You'll see all of these guys before the night is over.
He was redshirted a year ago, and again they go with Harris on the carry down to the 10-yard line, and it's 1st down and goal. 1st and goal before Vincent Dancy, who was the Jackson State Student Athlete of the Week, came up to make the stop.
Yeah, but part of Prairie View's problem of all year, why they can't win these close games, I mean, only 16 of 29, 55% in the red zone, which is last in the conference. So they can get inside the 20, but they've been having trouble punching it into the end zone.
Yeah, let's see if they can do it this time. They're in the red zone. They have a great opportunity to tie this ball game up. The ball at the 10, 1st down and goal. Here again is Calvin Harris. Nothing doing that time. Henry Frazier, the 3rd in his 3rd year.
And you can see, I mean, look when he came in here. I mean, in 2004, the first 2-0 start since 1964. I mean, they broke the 64-game road losing streak, back-to-back conference wins, and they even had a shutout this year. I mean, so Coach Frazier is really trying to turn this program around, and they were down in the dumps in the 80s and the 90s, but they weren't giving out any scholarships. So basically, they were competing against scholarship players with a bunch of walk-ons. Of course, when Coach Frazier took the job, they started giving out scholarships. Now he's able to recruit, and just a very accomplished coach. He turned around the Bowie State program before coming to Prairie View.
Certainly did. That 37-0 win this year was against Edward Waters, Division II school. Here's a run to the outside, and he was stood up.
Yeah, you're going to have to pick it up and throw this thing into the end zone, because I do not think you're going to run across the goal line of these Jackson State Tigers. I mean, I'm really looking and seeing why they're #1 in the conference in rushing defense. I mean, look at the guys running to the football. I mean, Kenneth Woodard, those linebackers, the safeties, the cornerbacks. I mean, everyone on this team are very good tacklers. And in Prairie View, I mean, I know they have a good running game, but at some point, you have to, let's try to pass.
Yeah, Wheaton was the man on the carry, and Woodard was the one who made the initial stop. It is 3rd and goal. Working from the shotgun is Chris Gibson. Throwing. Puts it in the end zone. Touchdown, Prairie View. And coming out of the backfield was Anthony Whedon, a freshman from Stafford, Texas. That is his 9th reception this year. First touchdown reception, though.
Yeah, he's a guy that lines up at running back and wide receiver, but what a beautiful throw and catch right over the hand of the defender. Nothing he can do, and those corner routes always are more advantageous to the offensive guy because you're running away from the leverage of the defender.
So the point after coming, and the kick is up, and we have a tie ball game with 7:55 to go here in the second quarter. Chris Gibson to the freshman Anthony Whedon for 6 points, and we're all tied here in Jackson.
Prairie View A&M University has an established reputation for providing thousands of African-American engineers, nurses, and educators. Through 9 colleges and schools, the university offers nearly 75 baccalaureate, master's, and doctoral degree programs.
As we celebrate Black History Month, Prairie View A&M University is proud of our heritage and remains committed to achieving excellence in education, research, and service.
Prairie View A&M University, producing productive people since 1876.
You don't have to tell LJ what Denver, Kansas City means. John and Champ, they know all about it. Herm, he knows. Pat Bolin, you better believe it. But since it's NFL Network's season premiere of live NFL games, we just thought we'd remind you. Thursday night football kicks off Thanksgiving night when the Denver Broncos battle the Kansas City Chiefs. Broncos-Chiefs, Thanksgiving night at 8 on NFL Network.
Own a timeshare or campground membership? Turn it into cash.
Timeshares Only got us our full asking price before our next monthly payment was due.
Timeshares Only is the nation's largest, #1 most successful timeshare agency, representing properties from the biggest names in the industry.
No one sells more timeshares.
Call now and receive a free information kit, including 10 secrets to timeshares. You owe it to yourself to work with the best.
Don't delay. Call 800-690-9294.
Mike Hall here in our Sports Center U studios with an update out west, Oregon and USC. This is Chauncey Washington getting his team on the board first. They just scored again, so they're up 13-0 with an extra point pending, and this has just begun in the second quarter. Meanwhile, Texas, Colt McCoy is out, Jevin Sneed is in, and the comeback is on. Sneed to Swede. Limas Swede with the grab, 42-35. Can this freshman get his team back in the game? Looks like he's doing it so far.
Prairie View takes advantage of the fumble by the Jackson State Tigers, and they go into the end zone. An 8-play, 35-yard drive that used 4:24 off the clock. Gibson with a 10-yard pass to Whedon.
And that's only his 3rd touchdown pass on the season. So, I mean, you can tell, I mean, these guys are designed to run the football. But, hey, with the #1 rushing defense in the conference, you have to pick it up and throw the football. And they did a great job connecting to Whedon on that touchdown pass.
And you're talking about turnovers, -8 for Jackson State in the takeaway giveaway department, and stepping out of bounds on the return. Well, got a little too close to the sideline was L.D. Briscoe, number 11 there.
Maybe he should have let that thing go out of bounds and take the penalty. But you look at the turnovers, like you said, Jackson State is -8. But one thing I really look at with the Prairie View A&M team in general, I mean, they're +4 in the turnover margin, which is 2nd in the conference. I mean, they're 2nd in the SWAC in total defense, 2nd in the SWAC in scoring defense. they are really at the top in a lot of different categories, but still their record doesn't really indicate the amount of success they're having statistically. So that tells me that they're a team that's on the verge of becoming a good football team in this conference. A lot of 3-point losses, 4-point losses, and as they go along, they're going to get better, and they're going to start winning some of those close games eventually.
Oliver 2 of 5 in the passing department so far this afternoon. He gives off to the left side is Kitchens, and Kitchens gets the first down. And we may have a fumble on the play. Let's see.
Yeah, the ball is on the ground once again.
Well, let's see what the officials haven't given us any signal yet. They're going to say the whistle blew that the man was down. But it's good enough for a first down, a 10-yard gain as John Johnson was there defensively. Let's see if that ball comes out before he hits the ground. He might have. Let's look at it once again. Here's Kitchens on the carry. Here's the hit right there. That ball is out of there.
It's a fumble.
That is a fumble, but no replay in this conference.
No replay.
Therefore,
now both teams complained about specific calls that cost them to lose ball games. Of course, every coach has that complaint, but when Coach Frazier sees that on Monday, he'll get that letter from the head officiating crew apologizing, but it won't mean a whole lot to him.
It certainly won't. Here's Oliver going to the air, a little too high, intended for Carlos Simpson. Downfield, too big. Let's look at it once again.
Yeah, but when I look at this, I mean, it's tough from a referee's position to rule this a fumble because look how long he has the ball in his hand. I mean, it's kind of on his leg, and depending on the angle, it's tough to tell that that ball is out. It just didn't pop out automatically. So it's one of those calls with a replay moving in slow motion. It's easy for us to say, well, I would have called that. But on the field, that's a very tough call for an official to make.
Sure it is. Second down and 10. Ball at the 30-yard line. This time, Oliver's going to operate from the shotgun. This is the least sacked team in the SWAC. Only 7 times they've been sacked. Here's that end-around reverse we talked about earlier. And Jamar Johnson is the man on the carry, and Jamar Johnson up the sideline across midfield, and a big gain all the way across the midfield stripe to about the 47-48 before Chandre Ward came up to make the stop. 22 yards on that one.
And that thing comes around. Look at Jimmy Oliver in your left of your screen. He gets the cut block to kind of spring the runner on that play, Johnson. And that's just an example of an unselfish player doing what it takes to make a play for his team. Jimmy Oliver with the cut block, and Johnson going around to get that first down.
Oliver not that big. He's 6'1", but he's only 175 pounds. But like he said, he's not afraid to stick his nose in there. Again on first down, working from the shotgun.
Empty backfield.
Has plenty of time, throws across field, incomplete. The intended receiver was Ken Davis, the senior from Europa, Mississippi. Davis wanted to run before he caught the ball.
Yeah, Davis is a big tight end coming in the game with only 1 reception, and maybe we see why. But yesterday when we watched practice, I mean, Jackson State had a couple of players who were uncharacteristically having passes that they were dropping in practice. I don't know if it's the cold weather or nerves of the homecoming, but they just have to settle down because Jimmy Oliver can get you the football in a position where you can have some run after catch yards also.
You can't have those alligator arms in plays like that, can you?
Not at all. I mean, you go back to being a blocking tight end and not the reception tight end.
Second down and 10, 5:53 to go here, second quarter. From the shotgun again, here's a little swing pass, and this one goes incomplete. Kenneth Brew was the intended receiver, and it'll bring up a third down. So you had one dropped, and then you had a miscue, and the pass was off the mark.
And I'm no offensive coordinator James Woody. Of course, he's been with Coach Comegees all the way back to his Central State days as a player. I mean, when you're up here and you're calling plays in the booth, and you have one where a guy drops it where you could have been in a second and short situation, then the quarterback has a little miscue. You know, now you're in the third and long situation, and you had 2 good plays that you could have had productive plays on, but just small mistakes here and there. So that's kind of frustrating from a coaching standpoint also, that your players just aren't executing the way you would like them to.
So it's a third down and 10, again facing the Tigers of Jackson State. Oliver under pressure, sacked from behind. He'll be brought down by Jermaine McGee, the senior from Oakland, California. Number 17 there. He led all defensive linemen in tackles a year ago. And he came up with the sack. That's only the 8th sack this year that Jackson State has given up.
Yeah, but that's the 7.5 sack for Jermaine McGee. I mean, he's second in the conference in sacks and 9th in 1AA. I mean, this guy is a player. He can come off the corner, 6'2", 200 pounds. He's a speedster. They'll have to try to put some blockers on him to stop him today.
Only the second punt of the afternoon for Bennett. From the 10-yard line. Yeah, you're supposed to see that coming.
You're supposed to fair catch that.
You're supposed to see that coming. You don't. What a Jamal Pittman came up with a big hit. He's the running back, and I'll tell you, Anthony Weed, he'll think twice. You know, when you're a freshman, sometimes you think you're invincible, right?
Yeah, but you have to fair catch that ball. That's a situation where either the bug or the windshield. I mean, that's a big hit, and that's what you call just running through. He never even stopped his feet. That's just like running through a brick wall. I mean, Whedon, give him credit for getting up and then not fumbling that football, but next time, just go on and fair catch it.
Yep.
Sometimes you have to be smart and not tough.
First down and 10 now for Prairie View with under 5 minutes to go. First half of play, 4:47 to be exact. Chris Gibson hands off, coming to the right side is Harris, and Harris,
good tackle,
was stopped immediately by Carlton Brown. Great open field tackle for the senior from Grenada, Mississippi.
And you know what? And that's how you have the #1 rushing defense in the conference, because it's not just your defensive tackles and linebackers that can make tackles. Also your cornerbacks, your guys in the secondary. You know, you have some cornerbacks like, you know, Deion Sanders guy, hey, I'm here to cover. But these guys aren't afraid to make tackles also. I mean, you can see that was an excellent tackle by Carlton Brown in open field. If he misses that, I mean, that thing can get out the gate. Also, 5 interceptions on the year, so he's not just a one-dimensional player. He can cover and make tackles.
Only a 1-yard gain on the play. It'll make it second down and 9. Backs are split behind the quarterback Gibson, who's working out of the shotgun on second down. Lets it go. He just threw that one away.
Yeah.
Closest man to it offensively was Wheaton. Carlton Brown was also down there defensively.
Not a bad decision. I mean, you're in the second and long situation. You're backed up. Hey, 7-7 ball game. You know, worst case scenario, let's try to do it on third down. So Chris Gibson, you're not one to make early mistakes on the road at that.
Prairie View started the season with a loss to Texas Southern. They beat Edward Waters and Southern in overtime. That was a big upset for this Prairie View team. And then they've lost 5 straight. They lost to Grambling, Alcorn, Alabama State, Mississippi Valley, and Arkansas Pine Bluff. But their last 4 games were not by a lot of points. And we get flags to stop play. They lost 5 games this year by a total of 20 points. In fact, the last 4 games were by a total of 17 points. So they've been in ball games. That's an average of 4.3
to the snap.
Points.
False start. 71. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Remains third down.
4.3 points per game average. They lost the last 4 games, so they could very easily have turned that season around.
Yeah, I mean, other than that Grambling State game, which was a 53-7 loss, I mean, every week they were right in that game. Even last week, losing to Pine Bluff 28-21. I mean, they had the lead in the ball game, and Pine Bluff came back and was able to pull it out. But these Panthers are a very tough, pesky team, and hey, you play around with them, eventually they'll win a close game.
3rd and 13. Quarterback decides he's going to keep it on the draw just to give his team some breathing room, but the defense is right there for the Jackson State Tigers, led by Corey Clark, number 97.
Yeah, and I talked to Coach Hayes, the defensive coordinator for Jackson State yesterday. I said, do you have any type of fancy schemes or concepts or something you're going to do to stop the #1 rushing attack in the conference? Say, hey, my guys are just going to have to step up and play football. We're going to do the same thing we're doing all year long. And I see why he says that. I mean, he has a lot of confidence in his players. And right now, I mean, that #1 rushing defense is showing me why they have that ranking in the conference.
And they're going to punt it away. Jamar Johnson is the deep man to receive it for Jackson State. And now it's thrown out of the end zone. And they're going to turn it over on downs as the punter could not get get anything going that time. Eric Hernandez under a lot of pressure back there, tried to throw it away, and that could have been disastrous.
Yeah, I mean, I think he had a chance to punt that football. I mean, it was a high snap, and I think he kind of panicked being in his end zone. If he'd have just finished with his punting motion, I think he could have got the punt off. Take a look here. I mean, he just started running, and poor guy at that point, man. You're in your end zone. The pressure's coming. He could have taken the safety, but an incomplete pass. But now you put your defense on their own 7-yard line, and Jackson State has a golden opportunity to take the lead in this ball game.
Certainly do. Keith Camp was putting the pressure on from that right side, and he couldn't get away from Keith Camp. He saw him out the corner of his eye, and he put the better of it.
Now, that's not too many punters that are going to get away from Keith Camp. I can tell you that now.
2:14 is the time remaining, and now we have a timeout being called by Prairie View, their second timeout that they have called today. We talk about this Jackson State team. They started the season with a win over Paul Quinn. They had 3 turnovers in that ball game, but still managed to pick up 308 yards. That was the game in which Eric Hall made his Jackson State debut with 4 touchdowns, 3 on the ground, and 1 touchdown reception, which covered 74 yards. And they lost in overtime on a freak play in overtime to Tennessee State. They lost that one 31-30. Second straight year that they gave up a 2-point conversion in overtime. In fact, they trailed 29 in that ball game after 3 quarters. And they came up and came back to tie it and send it in the overtime. And then after that, they beat Mississippi Valley, beat Texas Southern, Alabama State, and Southern University in overtime. They trailed Southern 28-14, but they lost to Grambling, Arkansas Pine Bluff, and Alabama A&M in their last 3 outings.
Yeah, I mean, when they had that streak of winning those ball games, everybody thought they were the SWAC champ, but then they fell on some hard times.
They certainly did.
And here, look at the rushing yards. Jackson State with 110 already.
And here we go, straight ahead, keeping the ball on the ground, this time with Eric Hall, the third back out of the triple I, getting it down to the 5-yard line, a 2-yard gain. It is second down and goal at the 5.
And keep in mind, we talk about this great defense that Jackson State has, their good rush defense. I mean, these Prairie View Panthers are tough on defense also. I mean, 15th in the country in total defense. So, I mean, hey, they play very good defense also.
Last year, Prairie View trailed 9-0, but used some big defensive plays to get back into the game. And here's Oliver throwing, and it's incomplete. Coming out of the backfield was Pittman, and Pittman couldn't hold on.
Yeah, good play action, rolling to the play side of the quarterback. Great effort by Pittman. I mean, he really lays out and tries to make this catch. Jimmy Oliver just let him a little bit too much. Give the big fullback credit for trying to stretch out and pull that one in.
27-9 was the score a year ago. Prairie View won that ball game. It's a third down and goal down in Prairie View. Jackson State had a pair of turnovers. They led 9-0, had 278 yards. Prairie View 204, and we'll be back.
You are killing.
With 1.5 minutes remaining in the first half, all tied at 7. Jackson State threatening. Don't forget to log on to your new online source, all things college sports, ESPNU.com. The online gateway will connect you to all the college sports content from ESPN, combining the latest news with an expanded collection of new exclusive material, scores, columns, video and audio highlights, podcasts, live streaming, games, and much, much more. Log on to ESPNU.com today, because we are college sports. Third and goal from the 5 for Jackson State. Kitchens, the lone setback. Reverse, trying to go to the right side. Now the pass off to the left side as Kitchens cannot get it into the end zone. Kitchens on the reception because Jason Fobbs was right there to make the stop defensively for the Panthers.
And you know what? This is a very interesting play, but hey, this thing almost works. You can see the blockers. They just missed Jason Fobbs. It's more or less that he's made a really good play on this, not the design of the play, because if they get that block on him, with this thing, he just walks into the end zone.
26-yard field goal attempt by Prairie. And Perry this year in field goals is 4 of 5. His longest a 45-yarder. He missed 2 against Alabama A&M last week, a 41 and a 24-yarder, but this one is through the uprights. And it's a 10-7 lead with 36 seconds remaining in the half.
And trust me, that is a win for the Prairie View defense. They came into that drive on the 7-yard line, and for them to only give up 3 points, 3 downs, they couldn't get anything. Jackson State couldn't, and they had to settle for the 3-point field goal. Trust me, Prairie View is very lucky to only be down 10-7 in that situation.
Let's go. They certainly are, especially after the disaster, which was almost a turnover on that punting situation.
Well, it makes the punter look like he made the right decision as opposed to taking the safety and going out the back of the end zone, which is the traditional thing that you would do. But, hey, with a defense like Prairie View, I mean, that's what's been keeping them in games all year long. That defense has been playing extremely well. In every ball game, they just kind of hang around because of that defense. And once that offense gets going and being able to make a couple more plays in the passing game, this team is going to be very dangerous.
So Jackson State, who just regained the lead, they led it 7-0. There was no scoring in the first quarter. Oliver with a 41-yard pass to Christopher Johnson. And then Gibson with a 10-yard pass to Whedon, taking advantage of a Jackson State miscue. Made it 7-7. And then Perry now with a 26-yard field goal. And here's the kickoff. Again, Whedon coming up the field with it. Whedon at the 31-yard line with 27 seconds to go in the half. Xavier Carroll there on the special teams to make the stop. Both teams with games left. Jackson State will play Alcorn here next week.
Capital City Classic.
Capital City Classic.
And
Alabama A&M is the team that Prairie View will face a week from Saturday. And they'll be playing them at Alabama A&M.
Right, and Jackson State, of course, you know, they're rooting for Alcorn today, because if Alcorn is able to beat Alabama A&M, I mean, you have a tie. It'll be about 4 teams with 3 losses in the East. You know, that's guaranteed that Jackson State is able to beat Prairie View today. So a lot of things must happen, but Jackson State still has an outside chance of winning the Eastern Division.
They certainly do. So from their own 31-yard line, could be the last play of the first half. Let's see what happens here as the running back Harris tries to go to the right side, and that is going to be the last play, and Carlton Brown ends it with a tackle. And we got a player that's down injured for the Tigers of Jackson State. But Rick Comegye's team ahead by a field goal here as we go to halftime for homecoming 2006 in Jackson, Mississippi. Halftime here in Jackson, Mississippi, homecoming 2006. 10-7 our score. Down on the field, the Sonic Boom of the South. They brought back a lot of alumni drum majors, drum majorettes, band members, and prancing J-sets to help perform with the band at halftime. And we'll look at some of the veteran alumni drum majors doing their thing right now. There was no scoring in the first half of this particular ball game. The action broke out on the first play of the second half, or second quarter, with Jackson State getting on the score.
In the pocket, he spots a wide open Chris Johnson, number 18. He takes it in for the opening score, and then Alcorn, Prairie View comes back and completes the touchdown pass to Anthony Wheaton. Field goal by Jackson State to give them a 10-7 halftime lead.
And, of course, Prairie View taking advantage of a miscue by Prairie View to get, I should say by Jackson State to get on the board. And, of course, the SWAC championship coming up. That'll be December 16th. Legion Field. Who will it be? Arkansas Pine Bluff in the driver's seat right now as far as the West is concerned. And Alabama A&M for the East. And that game will be right here on ESPNU. We'll be broadcasting that championship game East against the West, December 16th from Legion Field in Birmingham, Alabama. Right now, we have a 10-7 ball game here. Homecoming 2006 in Jackson, Mississippi, with the Tigers leading the Panthers at the half. Halftime, the alumni J-Sets, along with the current J-Sets, performing, and the players even getting into some of the halftime activity. Along with Eddie Robinson, Charlie Neal here, Jackson Memorial Veterans Stadium for Homecoming 2006. For Jackson State, Edward Moore, one of the deep men, back along with Weed to receive the second half kickoff. Jackson State will be kicking off in the home dark jerseys. And it comes down to Edward Moore. And Moore stumbles across the 25 out to the 27-yard line. And that's where Prairie View will go to work to start the second half. Let's look at the game summary for the first half. When you look at the total yards, Jackson State with 161 and 2 of 6 on third down conversions, only 51 total yards for Prairie View, but they only trail by 3.
Yeah, keep in mind, Jackson State had that big pass play for a touchdown, so that was a huge chunk of those yards to Chris Johnson.
And on the run to start the second half, Prairie View keeps the ball on the ground out to the 37-yard line. Dancy on the stop defensively for Jackson State. As the run was Kerry Wilson. He's talking about Vincent Dancy, the young man who's a student athlete of the week for Jackson State. Mitsubee County High will graduate in August. And here's the run to the left side, and it's nothing doing as the defense stiffens, led by Ken Woodard.
Yeah, man, and Ken Woodard, he's been the guy today who's been very impressive. He's coming away from the backside on this play and able to make the tackle for a loss, running down the running back. But, man, this Jackson State defense, ranked #1 in the conference, giving up 102 yards per game, and you can understand why. I mean, very tough for Prairie View to have any success running the football today.
Third down, 9 yards to go now for the Panthers of Prairie View. Gibson now will work out of the shotgun. He has Arnell Fontenot back in the backfield with him, who sneaks out of the backfield. Long pass, and this is over everybody's head. The defensive back couldn't even get close to it. That was LeBrose Hedgeman, who was the closest one there, number 21 defensively.
As Chris Gibson getting up slowly, you can see the pressure is slowly starting to get to him, and man, he takes a big shot. He tries to release that pass.
Gibson in the first half was 1 of 5 in the passing department. And he starts the second half 0 for. As the punting team is on, that's Eric Hernandez. Disaster the last time he punted. And this one is not much better.
Might need to go for it on 4th down.
22-yard punt. We'll be back.
How the mighty have fallen.
10-7 our score here in the third quarter. Jackson State about to get the ball for the first time, and I'm joined by former Jackson State great and NFL great Robert Brazil from the old Houston Oilers.
You got that right.
Great seeing you right now.
Nice to be here, man. It's been 30 years since I've been back.
Well,
this has been an exciting weekend.
Well, it certainly has been, and of course homecoming is when everybody comes back and kind of renews old acquaintances, and I'm sure you're happy to be here. I'm
very happy to be here for 2 or 3 reasons. Because of, first of all, homecoming, and it's a big weekend for Robert Brazil. It's a big thing supposed to happen for him tomorrow.
Well, we're going to continue to talk to you after this play here. First down and 10 for Jackson State. Oliver, and he decides he's going to hand off and keep the ball on the ground with Eric Hall getting the carry. And he gets maybe a yard on the play down to about the 48-yard line. Talk a little bit about what you're doing. I know you're in Mobile, Alabama. You're teaching school.
Yes, I've been in the school system in Mobile for 21 years. Myself and my wife thought we'd give back to the city. She's a chemistry teacher. I'm a special ed teacher. And I really enjoy it. I mean, it's one thing that I do every morning to get up and do something for those kids.
That's a great thing to do. 47-yard line is where Jackson State has the ball right now. second down. Oliver again working out of the shotgun. And again, we haven't seen him run much today, Eddie.
Not yet, but hey, it's still early.
Throwing the ball down the field, and it goes incomplete. He was trying to hit McLaurin, McLaurin downfield, and it was just a little bit too big for him. Talk about your fondest memories, first of all, from Jackson State.
I think my fondest memory was the camaraderie we had within the team. We had some great guys on that team. The late, great Walter Payton, Vernon Perry, Jackie Slater, Ricky Young. We had a group of guys that really cared for each other, and it was great to be with those guys.
How about with the Houston Oilers in the
Houston
NFL?
Oilers, I always tell people, I always slept with the best two running backs in the world. You know, Walter Payton been one of my roommates, and Earl Campbell been the other roommate.
That's pretty good.
But let's get this straight, in separate beds.
We understand. It is third down for Jackson State. Pass incomplete. McLaurin just couldn't hold on to it. He got his hand on it, and that'll bring up a fourth down punting situation.
Now, Robert, we know that Jackson State is trying to get back to prominence like when you were playing. I mean, in the 80s and the 70s, you guys won a lot of SWAC titles. Does it feel good to see Coach Comedy turn the program back in the right direction?
You know, I sat down one-on-one with Coach Comedy, and I felt exactly what you were saying. I mean, he's really trying to get back that old Jackson State spirit. I mean, the boom been here, but we need that old Jackson State hard-hitting defense, hard-hitting scoring offense, and that's one of the things that I think he's trying to do, and it's going to come back.
Whedon lets it go on the punt, and Prairie View will take over at their own 12-yard line. You're talking about history of Jackson State. All the great players have come out of here. You talk about Lynn Barney, and you mentioned
old school
Robert Brazil, of course. Lewis Tillman from the running back. You know, he was a little younger than you.
Jimmy
Smith, right. You know, and guys like that. I mean, Harold Jackson, and I mean, Jerome Barkham and Willie Richardson. Willie Richardson's doing the radio for him. He's still around.
That's an old list and a long list.
It certainly is. First down and 10 now from their own 12-yard line is where Prairie View is going to work. Whedon is the man in motion. The handoff to the right side, and it goes to the fullback. That's Kerry Wilson on the carry that time.
Now, Robert, you were a first-round pick by the Houston Oilers in what year?
In 75.
And didn't you guys, who else was drafted in the first round that same year?
Also Walter Payton.
Okay.
And he was drafted second in the first round.
Right, so you guys had two top-5 picks out of a 1AA school in the same year.
And Ricky Young, now he didn't go out in the first round, but he also got drafted with the Vikings that same time.
Pitch trying to come to the left side, and the defense is there. Are you excited about what you've seen? Of course, the team, as Fontenot was the man on the carry, they struggled the last 3 years here under James Bell, who was the former coach, and they bring in Rick Comegys, and boy, it's a resurgence in terms of fan appreciation, fan attendance, and fan interest.
I can see it when they came to Mobile for the Classic down in Mobile. I felt that old Jackson State spirit. I mean, the team was all fired up, the band was there, and the fans had came back. Years before that, I don't think we could fill up one side of the stadium.
Have you ever thought about coaching?
Well, I did, but I retired from coaching. I've been coaching over in Mobile on the high school level. And after 18 years of that, I said that was enough.
That's enough, huh? You don't 15, 16-year-olds depending on your life, huh?
No, and the mother's trying to coach you.
New quarterback in the lineup for Prairie View was Mark Spivey. He threw that particular pass that goes incomplete. That's the second pass he's thrown today. And of course, Robert Brazil has been joining us here at halftime, and we wish you a lot of success in the future, and glad you could come up and join us for this one.
I appreciate y'all, and I plan on seeing y'all over in Birmingham.
All right,
for the SWAC championship.
We'll be
hopefully
back.
Jackson will be there.
Okay, we'll see.
Jimmy?
Steve?
Back here, it's 10-7. Our score.
And I tell you what, Charles, I didn't want to embarrass Robert Brazile while he was up here, but man, he's one of my favorite linebackers. When I first got drafted by the Houston Oilers in 1992, I mean, it was one of the first things I knew was that, hey, Robert Brazile, a guy out of the SWAC, same conference I played in, Defensive Rookie of the Year his first year. I mean, he made 7 or 8 Pro Bowls. A guy who doesn't get a lot of attention for the NFL Hall of Fame, but, I mean, I think when you look at his numbers and the things he did from the linebacker position, man, he was ahead of his time.
And there's a fumble. The ball's on the ground, and Prairie View has it.
Wow.
Second turnover of the ball game by Jackson State. And it was recovered by John Johnson. There he is, number 11 there. John Johnson, the senior out of Klein Forest High in Houston. And this is William Brackett, quarterback right now instead of Jimmy Oliver. And he was trying to get the pitch to Eric Hall.
Yeah, trying to run the option, but just didn't have good pitch relationship. At that point, you just have to take the tackle for loss. But, hey, tip your hat to the Prairie View Panthers. They came in leading the conference with the +4 in turnover margin, 2 more turnovers today. I mean, this is a situation where Jackson State has to be careful because this Panthers defense has been playing extremely well today.
Let's see if they can take advantage here. It's Fontenot going to the right side. A flag is down. A late flag comes out from the referee. And, of course, like I said, they have changed. That is Prairie View quarterbacks. Both teams basically have changed quarterbacks. Chris Gibson didn't move the team in the first half.
Yeah, Chris Gibson was banged up, too, on that last play also. So I don't know if he's still injured or what's the situation with him. And, of course, Jimmy Oliver not in the game also.
So they brought in Spivey, this redshirt.
Holding, number 12, offense, 10-yard penalty. Repeat, first down.
The tight end, Rafael Revolta, was the man guilty of the holding penalty. So to move the ball back 10 yards from the spot of the foul. Actually, they only lost about a half a yard on the play, on the penalty. And it'll be first down, and we'll call it 11. We'll make it 20. Actually, they had gotten the ball down to the 41. The ball is across midfield. And again, into the secondary here is Fontenot with a good run down inside the 45 to the 44-yard line before Marcio Levy made the stop.
Yeah, I mean, in Prairie View, as long as this game is close, I mean, they're the #1 rushing team in the conference for a reason. I mean, these guys feel like they can run the ball on anyone. They're averaging 201 rushing yards per game. Now, of course, they're not close to that today, but usually in that running game, the third and fourth quarter is when it gets cranked up, when you start having those 5-yard plays turn into 10 and 15-yard plays.
1,851 yards Spivey has thrown for this year. So they've split quarterback duties, him and Gibson. And here's a long pass down the field, and it's incomplete. Way out of the reach of Adia.
Wow, a late flag on that play.
And who are they going to call that on? Is that going to be on the defensive back down there that's covering Keith Camp?
But like you said, that ball was non-catchable. It was at least 10 or 15 yards over the head of the receiver. So interesting to see what this call could be.
Well, they're probably going to have to pick this one up if it's uncatchable. But there's Keith Camp, was the man covering downfield, the junior from Douglas High in Dayton, Ohio, transferred from Bakersville Community College. Here's our referee.
Holding, number 5, defense, 10-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
They're calling holding. They're not calling pass interference.
Yeah, but still that ball wasn't catchable. I guess what they're trying to say is he's using the arm bar to impede the progress of the wide receiver. Now, that's a call.
The ball did actually land in bounds.
Yeah, it landed in bounds, so maybe he can say, hey, if he wouldn't have been stopping him from running, the receiver could have made the catch. But still a tough break for Jackson State in that situation.
At the 33-yard line, first down and 10 Prairie View. Fontenot, and he is met with a vengeance down there. And coming up to make the hit,
Daniel Brooks.
Was Brooks.
Tell you what, I really like the linebacker play that I'm seeing today. Of course, we had Robert Brazile, one of the great linebackers from Jackson State. And I don't know if he had a pregame talk with these guys today, but, man, they are stuffing the running game of Prairie View. I mean, all of these guys, Daniel Brooks, Kenneth Woodard, we saw him make a lot of good stops today. Even the cornerbacks, Carlton Brown, all of these players are doing an excellent job of stopping this running attack by Prairie View.
Terry Wilson, the lone setback behind the quarterback, Spivey. The handoff to Kerry Wilson, spinning in the hole and gets down to the 30-yard line, a gain of 2 yards on the carry before he's stopped there by Michael Harris. Or is that Blackman? Blackman, 52, was there to stop him also.
Another third down situation for the Panthers, man. They've converted a couple third down off of penalties, so we'll have to see if Jackson State can play a little more disciplined football. And 105 rushing yards by Jackson State, only 61 for the Panthers. But hey, this is the team that's patient with the running game, and they don't mind getting stuffed early, but they're going to keep running this football.
And now a timeout is being called, and let's see who this is being called. Prairie View is calling a timeout. They have 2 remaining. They trail it by 3. 7:06 remaining. We're in the third quarter.
Sportsmanship and integrity.
Dedicated fans.
A commitment to excellence.
Historic rivalries.
Time-honored tradition.
Prominent institutions of higher learning.
A commitment to the community.
Courage and perseverance.
On the field.
And off the field achievements. Individually and collectively, we are the SWAC.
We are the SWAC.
10-7 our score here in the third quarter. 7:06 remaining. Jackson State ahead, and Aaron Gray and the Panthers start the college hoop season Sunday on ESPNU against the Western Michigan Broncos in the Maggie Dixon Classic, honoring Pittsburgh coach Jamie Dixon's sister who passed away last season. It's the Maggie Dixon Classic on ESPNU Sunday at noon Eastern. And for more information, log on to ESPNU.com. Along with Eddie Robinson, Charlie Neal, as third down conversions. Jackson State 2 of 7, 2 of 9 for the Panthers of Prairie View, and that's what they're facing right now. A 3rd down and 7 at the Jackson State 30-yard line. From the shotgun, Spivey is operating. Back to pass. Pressure. Gets it off. Hits Daniel Brooks in the back of the head, but the pressure was relentless. Vince Dancy was leading the charge.
Yeah, and Jackson State hasn't been blitzing a lot today, but hey, new quarterback in the game. Let's bring some pressure off the edge. I like the call. And Dancy, man, just a second sooner, and that could have been a forced fumble.
4th down. Looks like Prairie View is going to go for it from the 30-yard line.
Big play here.
4th down conversions this year. They're 10 of 22. That is the Prairie View Panthers coming in. Spivey with time. Lets it go. Throws it into the dirt. Had time, but he threw it into the dirt. Boy, I'll tell you, he blew a golden opportunity that time.
And I'm going to tell you why, because the receiver ran a comeback route. It was 4th and 6. He stopped right at the 8-yard mark, and he was open for a second. As Spivey could have gotten off a good pass. I mean, man, but I think that ball may have been tipped at the line of scrimmage. Let's take a look. Yeah, the big guy gets in the air and is able to tip that pass. Because if not, that was Corey Clark, 6'3", 320-pound junior, showing off his vertical skills to get up and tip that pass because the receiver was definitely open. Good break for Jackson State.
And we see Jimmy Oliver back in the lineup now, quarterback for Jackson State, working on 1st down and 10 from his own 30. So Jackson State dodged the bullet that time after the fumble. Here's the pass out in the flat, and it's complete on the near sideline to Christopher Johnson, who has the touchdown pass in the ball game already. He's covered there by Chandre Ward, but a 1st down gained all the way out to the 43-yard line, a gain of 13 on the pass play.
Looks like we have a change of pace by Jackson State. Little no-huddle offense, get things moving.
Yeah, they normally go into the huddle because that's one of the things I asked Coach yesterday. I said, you working a no huddle? Or he said, no, we normally huddle. So maybe this is giving them a whole different look and giving the defense something to think about. On 1st down and 10 now. Now there's a movement on the offensive line. Somebody moved up front. So that's going to move the ball 5 yards further back. And again, Jackson State came into the game the most penalized team in the SWAC, over 90 yards a game.
Prior to the snap, false start, 71 offense, 5-yard penalty, remains 1st down.
Wilson Manigat, the junior, who played defensive line for Jackson State a year ago, has moved over to the offensive side, guilty of moving prematurely. 1st and 15. Some running room now for the quarterback, who decides for the first time today to take it and takes it down to the midfield stripe. And he'll be about 3 yards shy of a 1st down before Joseph Fontenot ran him out of bounds. That's Jimmy Oliver. from Columbia, Mississippi.
Yeah, he comes into the game with 475 rushing yards. I mean, he's leading the team in rushing, so it's no surprise for him to take this thing down and try to get some yards on the ground. No one's open down the field. Hey, good pump fake. Keep running, get out of bounds, don't take the lick. Now they're going back with the no huddle. The last time, of course, they had a penalty to slow him down. We'll see if they can get the snap off cleanly this time.
4 touchdowns rushing for him this year. 11 touchdowns passing and nothing doing for the running game that time as the defense stiffens for Prairie View against Mr. Kennebrew, and that was led by Zach Hayes.
Yeah, good play call by defense coordinator Northern for Prairie View A&M in a situation where Jackson State is trying to spread you out just so they can run the football. He calls a blitz on the inside, predicting run, and is able to get Jackson State into a 3rd down situation once again.
3rd and 4 from their own 49-yard line is where Jackson State is facing another 3rd down situation. Oliver from the gun. A little pressure, steps up, takes off, fakes the pass, still on his feet. 1st down, out of bounds at the 40-yard line. Make it inside the 40 at about the 37-yard line before Anthony Beck made him go out of bounds. Jermaine McGee all of a sudden also on the stop defensively. So look at it from the good run for the quarterback, Jimmy Oliver.
And I like what Jimmy Oliver is doing. I mean, he's been successful in the passing game early on, but hey, no one's open downfield. I know it's 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. Just get the 1st down. At this point, they just want to keep the chains moving, and he's taking control of this game very slowly right now.
And a good run to the outside this time. And they give it to Simpson, who lines up in the backfield. You know, he'll play wide receiver. Simpson will play running back.
Quarterback.
Quarterback, he'll do it all. He gained about 4 yards on that play before Val Ford made the stop defensively. And it'll be 2nd down and 6. You know, one of the things you talk about this Jackson State team in the first half of the season, they had to rally and come back and beat teams. And in the second half of the season, they were doing it up front in the first half and then falling behind in the second half. And today it's been one of those things where they kind of played an even ball game.
Yeah, pretty even. But Prairie View with this good defense, I mean, they don't give up a big lead to anyone because they play really tough defense.
2nd and 6. Oliver sacked. Well, he gets the ball out somehow. They're going to call it incomplete. But he was under pressure there from Jermaine McGee. Jermaine McGee all over that one that time.
Yeah, and that seems like a situation where he was in the grass because the guys had him just about wrapped up. I mean, take a look here. Look at the pressure coming from the other side. Jermaine McGee coming into the game with 6.5 sacks. Has a sack today. I mean, relentless pressure. But looked like he had Jimmy Oliver wrapped up. He was able to get it out there and save the sack and not take those yards for a loss.
Jermaine McGee tied for 9th in the nation in terms of sacks in all of Division I AA, 2nd in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. They consider him maybe the best athlete on this team, and he's a criminal justice major, senior from Oakland, California. It is 3rd down for Jackson State. Here's the pass in the middle of the field, wide open. 1st down inside the 20 to the 14-yard line. Great reception that time. And he gets it to Keithone McLaurin, who dropped one earlier. And he picks up his 15th reception of the year before Zach East made the stop.
And Jimmy Oliver's once again able to find an open receiver. You can tell he's looking from outside in.
McLaurin had 9 receptions against Arkansas Pine Bluff this year for 181 yards. Didn't even score a touchdown, but had a great game against Arkansas Pine Bluff. 1st and 10. That was good for 24. Here's a pass out in the flat. This time is Jamar Johnson inside the 5 to about the 2-yard line. It'll be 2nd down, or it may be 1st and goal. Let's see where they mark it at the 2.
Good individual effort by Jamar Johnson. You can see just one-on-one. A lot of teams like to do this. Just get him on the edge, one-on-one with the defender. See if he can't make a play in space. It's hard to tackle a guy, even though you have that sideline to help you out. It's hard to tackle those wide receivers one-on-one on the edge.
So it is going to be 1st and goal for Jackson State at the 2 of Prairie View. Full house backfield. Kenneth Brewer's back there. Let's see who they give it to. And they give it to carrying the ball that time was Dorian Smith, and he gets it in for 6. A freshman fullback from Memphis, Tennessee. It's the first time we've seen him today, and he gets 6.
Yeah, just a lead play. You can see both of the blockers go right up the middle, just testing the heart of that Prairie View defense. Dorian Smith keeps the legs moving and pushes it across for the score.
So to try to make it a 17-7 ball game. And we got flags. That was a 70-yard drive. Pretty impressive for Jackson State after they stopped Prairie View on downs, when Prairie View looked like they had a golden opportunity after recovering a fumble.
Yeah, Jackson State really stepping up, making some plays here late in the third quarter. And like you said, a 70-yard drive after a 4th down stop. Very impressive.
Snap, false start, 71, offense, 5-yard penalty, replay the try.
So again, on the point after, there's movement for the 2nd time today by Jackson State, meaning that the kicker, that's Eric Perry, will be attempting a 25-yard extra point
for the 2nd time today.
Jeremy Handy is the holder. This one is up, and it is good. So 17-7 is our score on Dorian Smith's 2-yard run as they complete a 70-yard drive. And you talk about some great ones who played here at Jackson State. One of the great ones was Walter Payton.
I mean, Walter Payton, what can you say about the late Walter Payton? Here's a guy that just had a phenomenal college career. I mean, not only was he a great runner, he also returned kicks and punts. Went on to be drafted by the Chicago Bears, of course. Retired 3rd in school. Well, 3rd in school history in rushing now. A couple guys will pass him up, but just a great player and a great person on and off the football field.
There you go, 3,563 yards. There's been only one 4,000-yard rusher in the history of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and that's Destry Wright, also a product of Jackson State. Lewis Tillman is the 2nd leading rusher all time, and Walter Payton comes in 3rd. 3 of the top 5 rushers in the SWAC all time are Jackson State products. The other 2, Eric Gant from Grambling and Brad Baxter from Alabama State.
Yeah, it just shows you the type of football tradition that the Tigers have. And of course, we had Robert Brazile. Those guys were drafted number 2 and number 5 overall in the draft in 1975.
This will come down at the 4-yard line. Prairie View bringing it up is Edward Moore. When you talk about Hall of Famers, Prairie View has one Hall of Famer, Kenny Houston.
Safety, played with the
Oilers and the Washington Redskins. And of course, Jackson State with 3 Hall of Famers, and Lem Barney, Walter Payton, and Jackie Slater. The amazing thing about Jackie Slater, Eddie, is that he played 20 years with one team. Yep. Only 2 players played that long in the NFL with one team. The other one was Darrell Green, who played 20 years with the Washington Redskins.
Yeah, my rookie year, 1992, I actually played against Jackie Slater. Of course, he was in his year number 20 at the time, but he could still play. Good player, had a very long career, and man, one of the best offensive linemen in the game.
Played for he blocked for 24 quarterbacks and 37 running backs.
Wow.
That's quite a few, huh? A loss on the play on Fontenot by Ken Woodard. Fontenot trying to get to the right side, and nothing there for him offensively.
Yeah, I mean, his running game has been bottled up by the Jackson State defense. I mean, Kenneth Woodard, number 41, he's the leader of this attack, man, all over the field today. Just very tough for Prairie View to get anything going consistently in the running game.
Loss of 2 on the play, 2nd down and 12. Down at the 2:25 mark of the 3rd quarter. Spivey, the pass to the flat. It's complete. Well, no, now it's dropped. They're going to call it an incomplete pass on the far sideline as Harmon couldn't hold on. Let's look at the rushing yards for the 2 teams. Prairie View, who came into today's ball game averaging 201 yards rushing to lead the conference as far as rushing offense is concerned, has been held to just 58.
Yeah, but keep in mind, Jackson State, they came into the game only giving up 102 yards per game. They were first, so you knew it was a match of one team's strength versus the other team's strength, and so far, Jackson State is winning that battle.
It is 3rd and 12 now for the Panthers. Spivey going to the air. Plenty of time. Has a man wide open in the flat over here. That was Fontenot. He didn't even see him. He never looked at his second or third option. He looked at he was weeding all the way.
I tell you what, when you see those blue helmets coming out of nowhere, the way they're playing defense, you don't get to that second or third option. But you're absolutely right. I mean, he had a guy Fontenot open wide to the right of the screen, but he just wanted to go with the crossing route to Whedon and completed the pass, but far short of the first down.
This is the 7th time today that Prairie View has punted. Eric Hernandez back to do it. And it's caught at midfield. And have a pretty good return back inside the 40 by Jamar Johnson to about the 37-yard line. And that's where Jackson State will go to work. Cameron Thibodeau is the man on the stop for Prairie View on the special teams. But good field position for Jackson State as they get the ball inside the 40. And log on to your new online source, all things college sports, ESPNU.com. It's an online gateway that will connect you to all the college sports content from ESPN. Log on to ESPNU.com today because we are college sports. So from the Prairie View 37, great field position again for the Tigers of Jackson State, who lead it now 17-7. This time again, the young man who scored the touchdown is in there running the ball. That's Dorian Smith, the freshman from Memphis.
We've seen a lot of running backs from Jackson State today. Somewhat of a surprise. We've seen Eric Hall early. We've seen number 22, Jeremy Kitchens, and now we're going with Dorian Smith. A couple of young guys who haven't played a whole lot this year.
Right. Jamal Pittman has run the ball. Kenneth Brew, along with, of course, Carlos Simpson, who's been in there.
Yeah, running back by committee is seeming to be effective for Jackson State.
Dorian Smith, he's the lone setback behind the quarterback, Jimmy Oliver. He has the ball again. Well, you got to see what these freshmen can do, and he has the first down to the 25-yard line.
Yeah, we talked with Coach Comagese. He told me, hey, we're just a couple of players away from having an extremely good team. But you can tell, look at these young guys. I mean, they're able to hit it and just get up there and get a couple of extra yards and run after contact.
You know, I always talk about Lem Barney, who I worked with many years in the broadcast booth, who played here at Jackson State, NFL Hall of Fame as a defensive back. He had 26 interceptions in 3 years as a member of the Jackson State team.
I think he's still in their book as their career leader with 11 in 1 year.
He certainly did. And again, breaking tackles. 10-5 touchdown Dorian Smith. 2 today for Mr. Smith.
Coming out of nowhere. He took the first half off and then showing up in the second half with 2 touchdowns, feeling fresh. What are some good moves in there to break into the open field and had the speed to get into the end zone.
26 yards for Dorian Smith, 2 touchdowns today as the third quarter comes to an end, and Jackson State increasing its lead to 22-7 here. And again, the point after for Perry. He's not missed today. He had one block, but there was a penalty, and so he had a chance to get it a second chance, and now we get a penalty again. This has become an adventure. Just the extra point. People can't stay still before the ball is set out.
Yeah, but Jackson State, in order to take that next step to be a really good team, they're definitely going to have to cut down on the penalties that they get because they're getting them in bad situations. It's never a good time, but they seem to find a bad time.
False start, 57, offense, 5-yard penalty, repeat the try.
And it's another 25-yard extra point as Michael Harness was the man who jumped off sides.
And those are the type of things that really eat the coach up because this is a situation, hey, it's an extra point. Why are you jumping offside? And you've done it 3 times in one game.
37-yard drive. They got the ball in great field position after the punt return. And trying to make it a 23-7 ball game. Or a 24-7 ball game, I should say. And that's the way it is right here as we get ready to start the fourth quarter from Jackson State. Homecoming 2006, a good one so far for the Tigers. ESPNU College Football is presented by Citi. Earn reward points in more ways than ever with Citi. 15 minutes of football left here as the sun has set here in Jackson at Veterans Memorial Stadium, and the homecoming crowd enjoying their team's 17-point advantage over the team from Prairie View, Texas. The last scoring drive covered 37 yards. Dorian Smith takes it in from 26 yards out, and they increase their lead. A minute and 29 off the clock on a 3-play drive. They got down there quickly.
Yeah, and Dorian Smith, I mean, we didn't see anything out of him in the first half. He comes in the second half and is able to have 2 touchdowns in short order.
From the Whedon, the 5-yard line. Whedon trying to get outside, gets it to the 20. And we get a couple of scores for you from the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Here we go, Alabama A&M.
Wow, that's
They're
a big
in.
one.
Yeah, 35-26. That kind of puts them into the SWAC championship against
for the second year in a
Arkansas
row.
Pine Bluff. Alabama State knocks Mississippi Valley off today in Montgomery. Yes, your old school, Eddie. 25-20 the final score in that one. So Alabama State increases its record to 5-4 in the conference. 5-5 overall. Mississippi Valley goes to 6-5-4, 6-5 overall. Spivey trying to carry the ball himself on the quarterback keeper, and there was nothing there because Bobby Colvin was the man in the spot. As we look at the updated standings right now, based on the scores we just gave you, Alabama A&M with the big lead there, and of course Jackson State winning here today would give them a 5-3 record in as far as conference play is concerned. And Arkansas Pine Bluff is playing Southern University today.
Yeah, but this is really going to hurt Jackson State because they had Alabama A&M on the ropes last week, and had they won that game, they would be in position to win the East.
Spivey stands in there, throws, incomplete, downfield. Daya was the man who was the intended receiver. Don't forget, right here on ESPNU, we will bring you the SWAC championship from Legion Field in Birmingham, Alabama, Eastern Division against the Western Division. And right now, the two teams that are sitting at the top of their respective divisions is Arkansas Pine Bluff in the West and Alabama A&M in the East. For Arkansas Pine Bluff, it will be their first ever trip to the SWAC championship. Alabama A&M's been there 3 times but have never won it.
They never won it, and Pine Bluff just needs to win one of their last 2 games, and they'll represent the West.
Pass incomplete. Out in the flat, intended for running back coming out of the backfield.
And Charlie, you know, as we talked to Coach Comagese, I mean, he was rebuilding a program. This is supposed to be a rebuilding process, and we asked him, well, what was your realistic goal for this year? And he kind of grinned and he said, well, man, I like to win, Eddie. I wanted to win the title this year, you know. And no one really gave him a chance to have the success like he's having. Of course, Jackson State will have a winning season more than like at 5-4. They should have a winning season this year. But, I mean, he expected this team to compete for the Eastern Division title. And they had Alabama A&M on the ropes last week. They were up 21-6 at the half. And had they won, they would be the team going to the SWAC title game.
So the 4th time in the second half that Prairie View has punted. Jackson State gets the ball again in pretty good field position at their own 39.
This
24-7 our score. Under 13.5 minutes to go here in this ball game. Jimmy Oliver has led his team today. There he is. The stats on him: 6 of 16 in the passing department. 94 yards, a touchdown. And he has rushed the ball for 27 yards.
Yeah, but keep in mind, Charlie, he was averaging 230 yards of total offensive game. His numbers are a little down, but with no turnovers, he's having a very efficient game. 2nd in the conference in passing efficiency. So you don't always have to have a big yardage day to have a really good game.
He is still his team's leading rusher here in this ball game by 2 yards. And it may have just ended on that one.
And some of it is because of the running back by committee, because we've seen so many of the Jackson State various running backs into the ball game, and as they go back to Pittman now. So, but still, Jimmy Oliver is definitely the guy that gets this offense moving. Of course, he's a transfer from Pearl River Community College, and he still has another year to play. So he'll be back next year for his senior season. And this Jackson State Tiger team is going to be very tough to deal with next year with one more recruiting class under Coach Comegee's belt.
It certainly will be. And ironically enough, when we talked about the fact that the 100-yard rushers, you know, they've only had one game in which they had a running back or a player rush for 100 yards, and that was the quarterback, Jimmy Oliver, who had 112 yards against Arkansas Pine Bluff. Women's college basketball on ESPNU. Jackson State this year, their combined record, if you take out the Paul Quinn game, Division II school, which they won 44-20, had a combined record of 38-35. In fact, just 4 of the teams that they played had winning records, and they beat just one of them, and that was Mississippi Valley. They lost to Tennessee State, Pine Bluff, and Alabama A&M, all teams with winning records. But they lost by, as we get this pass complete, the near side, the 45-yard line, and it's Tamar Johnson. Tamar Johnson on the carry, or on the reception. Ward on the stop. And we talked about the teams with the winning records and the teams that they lost to. They lost to Pine Bluff in a shootout, 43-40. They had 578 yards in that game, 408 yards passing. When you have that many yards, you're supposed to win, right?
You expect to win. And what happened in that game, it was a couple of defensive miscues where Pine Bluff was able to get some big yards for their part. I mean, because obviously you had to give up a lot of yards too if you still lost. But I mean, Jackson State, man, very good team offensively and defensively.
Jamar Johnson going out in the pattern. Oliver working from the empty backfield, and he's going to be sacked for the 3rd time this afternoon. That's the 3rd time he's been sacked. Jason Fobbs on the sack, and they came into the game with only 7 all season long, and he's been sacked 3 times today.
Yeah, and they were able to get to him a couple of times today, but I mean, only giving up 7 sacks on the season. While they do have a good offensive line, a lot of that is Jimmy Oliver and his mobility to not get sacked. And I mean, he's playing a more consistent game early on in the year, especially last week. 2 different halves. I mean, he had a great first half and then not so good second half. Today, he's been a little bit more consistent throughout the whole ball game. And if he can put some good halves, first and second halves together, man, this guy can put up some huge numbers in 1AA football.
This will be a 4th and 12 situation. There's a penalty flag down. Looks like it's going to be offsides against Prairie View. They'll still bring up a punting situation for Jackson State.
Prior to the snap, offside, 42 defense, made contact, 5-yard penalty, remains 4th down.
Only the 3rd time, or 2nd time, I should say, in the second half that Jackson State is punting the ball away. They had a fumble, and they scored twice. Those are the other 3 possessions.
And Prairie View is running out of time. If they want to get back into this football game, they'll have to do something on this possession.
Well, they haven't been able to move the ball much today. They have less than 100 yards of total offense in the ball game. Low snap, picked up by Hernandez. Gets off a good high kick. This time Wheaton decides he's going to call for the fair catch.
Smart guy.
He got smart, didn't he? 10:22, our time remaining in the 4th quarter.
Using only my City Premier Pass credit card, I earn rewards points crazy fast, and I will do it restrained with this restraining device. I start with the points for buying my ticket and Victor's ticket, then earn points for my miles and his. Unbelievable. Using only the City Premier Pass credit card, I rock the house. Big time. Rewarding. Very, very, very rewarding.
Foundation Sports, setting the standard for sports instructional DVDs.
Hi, I'm Magic Johnson. Welcome to the fundamentals of basketball.
To be the best, you have to learn from the best. That's why basketball legend Magic Johnson has assembled the greatest team of all-star players and coaches to help players everywhere improve their skills and knowledge of the sport. The Magic Fundamentals comprehensive video is filled with everything you need to know to increase your points, assists, rebounds, and understanding of the game of basketball.
We all are looking to get better, and this tape will make you better if you practice the drills over and over again. You don't have to go to camp. I'm bringing camp right to you.
Take the first step to becoming a great basketball player with Magic Fundamentals on 2 DVDs. Order now and get Magic's conditioning DVD free. That's over 2 hours of basketball instruction, plus the free conditioning DVD for 2 payments of only $19.99. And when you call, ask how you can own the complete Magic library. Call now or order online at foundationsports.com.
7-hour score here. We talked earlier about the SWAC championship going to Birmingham on December 16th. The city of Jackson is bidding to host the SWAC football championship game and the SWAC basketball championship next year. They're also one of the cities the conference is considering in relocating the office, which is now headquartered in Birmingham. The relocation decision is supposedly going to be announced in early February.
Of course, they were in New Orleans for the longest at the Superdome, been in Birmingham since 1999, so it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds.
Here's a pass out in the flat. And a missed tackle across the 20 to the 25, and a first down gain by Jackson State by Kerry Wilson coming out of the backfield, the fullback, before Willie Williams was there defensively to make the stop for the Tigers of Jackson State.
You know, that's the type of plays that Prairie View is going to have to try to do. Just short passes. Jackson State's going to be content to play zone. Of course, you know, they have the big 24-7 lead right now, but you just have to be patient. You can't expect to turn into a passing team all of a sudden, and what you like to do is run the football.
1st and 10. And it was a good catch, but also a better hit that time by Camp. Keith Camp came up to really tattoo the receiver on this one.
Yeah, and this is how you play zone defense. If you want to run a slant in front of me, as soon as you catch it, I'm going to hit you on contact and just try to just knock your helmet off. Man, what a great hit by Keith Camp, but give Prairie View credit for hanging on to that football.
That was Mark Eisen on the reception, a junior from Upland, California. Here's a pass play. Spivey under pressure, hit from behind as he let it go. And boy, he never saw the defensive back coming, or the linebacker. That was Blackman. Jawan Blackman was there to hit him on the blind side.
Yeah, and
linebacker, you like that side of stuff when you played linebacker.
Yeah,
didn't
I
you?
like that when they're not looking. I mean, it's always good to hit a guy then, but they have to get back to those short passes. I mean, I don't think that they can sit back in the pocket with Spivey and just let him be a drop back passer and let this Jackson State front four, you know, get up the field and try to pass rush on him. Let's have him take some 3-step drops, get the ball out of his hand, and let the receivers do something after they catch it.
Bring up a 3rd and 5. Spivey with the short drop, and he tried to swing it out in the flat to Kerry Wilson coming out of the backfield, and it goes incomplete. And you talk about Henry Frazier, you know, in his 3rd year has done a pretty good job as coaching this team, and has passed the win mark of the last 7 coaches that this Prairie View product has had. You know, the last winning season they had was 1976. They were 6-5 in that year. Previous to that, they were 9-0 and 64 and the Black National Champions. And they had a 7-year stretch in which they won no games between 91 and 97. High snap, and the punt is away. Jamar Johnson deep to receive it at the 21-yard line. Tries to get to the outside, has a little running room over there, and he's finally bounced out of bounds after he gets across the 35, or about the 34 is where they're going to mark it, and it's Kerry Wilson who made the stop defensively.
Yeah, Coach Frazier, I mean, he's doing a good job. It's work in progress, though, but look at this team going in the right direction. As you can see, Jimmy Oliver coming back onto the football field and having a pretty good day so far. I mean, they've really been focusing on running the football. He hasn't had a lot of opportunities to pass, but when he has, he's had some success. I mean, look at his last 2 games. In the first half, 521 total yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 fumble. And also in the second half, 321 total yards. Man, that's just huge production from him. Today, not as much. First half, 50 yards and 70 yards, but He has his team ahead 24-7, and he's playing a very efficient game, not making the mistakes.
Full house backfield, and Eric Hall is hit immediately as he touched the ball, and it was Zach East, the middle linebacker, the junior, third leading tackle on this team, who started his college career at Hampton University, transferred to Prairie View. Didn't play last year after transferring from Hampton. Hampton doing a pretty good job, probably will win the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference and represent that conference in the 1AA playoffs, something that the SWAC doesn't get an opportunity to do because of Alabama State playing on Thanksgiving Day, and of course the SWAC championship, plus the Bayou Classic with Grambling and Southern. It is 2nd down and 11. Here's the long pass down the field, and it goes incomplete. Jamar Johnson, the intended receiver, downfield.
And that could have been a touchdown because they were over the head of the deep safety, and he had the cornerback beat. That's one that Jimmy Oliver's going to look at tomorrow and say, man,
should have had that one.
Yeah, you can tell. Look at his face. He knows. If I put that ball maybe 5 yards more, that thing is getting caught in stride. He's in the end zone, Jamar Johnson. So Jimmy Oliver is still, you know, coaches talk about him. They say he's a guy that's had to learn how to watch film. When we talked to offensive coordinator James Woody and players, you know, I had a lot of young players when I was playing as a veteran. They would just come and just want to watch film like a spectator and not really understand what the defense was doing. You know,
what they were looking at.
Yeah, I have a young guy.
I can watch film, but I don't know what I'm looking at.
My guy Keith Bullock, you know, he's a great linebacker with the Titans. His rookie year, he would come watch without a pen and paper. I said, come on, you got to take notes. You can't just watch like you're watching a movie, you know. But guys have to develop that, and you have to teach them how to watch film.
Another sack in progress, possibly. Caught behind everybody. And it's going to be a touchdown for Jackson State. Coming up with the big reception, Chris Johnson, his 2nd touchdown reception today. 67 yards. Boy. Oliver, 2nd touchdown pass today. Both to Chris Johnson.
Yeah, and Prairie View got caught trying to blitz. When you blitz, you have one-on-one coverage down the field. Man, give Jimmy Oliver credit because he stepped up and didn't try to run. He stepped up and was still able to throw a strike to Chris Johnson. He out-jumps the receiver and makes it into the end zone for his 2nd touchdown of the day.
66-yard drive that time for Jackson State, and here's Hernandez for the point after to make it a 31-7 ball game, and no penalty, believe it or not, on the kick.
First time today.
And that's the way it is. 7:44 the time remaining right here in the 4th quarter, and Jackson State increases their lead by 24 points. We'll be back.
Intelligent key technology that knows you. Seats that hug you. A ride that spoils you. The next Nissan Maxima. Part of the next generation of Nissan thinking.
ESPN College Game Day, Saturdays at 10 a.m.
Mike Hall here with another update from out west, USC and Oregon. It's 14-3, fresh off a turnover. That's not what a pitch is supposed to look like. Dennis Dixon trying for the option, not so much. That would set up a couple plays later. It's actually 4th and 1 for USC. They need to get this yard. 4th and inches, they say. And sure enough, Chauncey Washington pops it in. Oregon has 13 turnovers in their last 5 games, and they're paying for it as the Quackers are down 21-3 in the 3rd.
7:44 the time remaining, along with Eddie Robinson, Charlie Neal here at Veterans Memorial Stadium in Jackson, Mississippi, and it's going to be a good homecoming, looks like, for the fans and the Jackson State Tigers as they lead it by a score of 31-7 here. Jimmy Oliver's thrown a pair of touchdown passes, both to Christopher Johnson. Also, Dorian Smith has run in a pair of touchdowns from 2 yards out and 26 yards out. Plus, Perry's kicked a 26-yard field goal. Gibson 10-yard pass to Whedon accounts for the only touchdown today for the Panthers of Prairie View, and that was taking advantage of a fumble by Jackson State. Jackson State doesn't fumble, they may not have any score.
Yeah, then you look at Coach Frazier from the Prairie View sideline, and it's been a very long year for the Panthers. I mean, they've had some games where they felt like they should have won. A couple bad calls by the ref, a couple breaks here and there, but they don't count the Panthers out. I mean, they're still building the program, and they'll have some success.
From the 10-yard line, Whedon drains it out to the 25, a 15-yard return. Now a little frustration setting in on the part of some of the Panthers.
Only natural, you know, when you expect to win football games. And you know, I asked Coach Frazier, I said, man, you guys are losing a lot of close football games, some really good teams, you know, in the conference. How did you get discouraged from that? He said, no, it's actually encouraging because the players realize that they can truly play with any team in the SWAC conference. And it's just a matter of time before they take that step and they start to win some of those close ball games. But it's a building process, you know, and losing, nobody likes to lose. But that's part of the process to get better each year.
In '93, he was the quarterback at at Bowie State. They went 18-3, took them to the NCAA playoffs. In '88, coached in 99. And there's a pass as a face mask. A late flag came down, but there was a face mask on Hedgeman as he stopped the receiver. He grabbed the face mask, and the reception was made by Joe Towson, the sophomore out of Jacksonville, Florida. But Henry Frazier, he will see better days.
Face mask, 15 yards from the end of the run.
Well, I think you have to realize, I mean, he pretty much spent the whole first year just trying to get the negative attitude out of the program. And that in itself can be a task when you have to really have guys convinced that, hey, you know, we're going to play hard for 4 quarters and we're going to expect to win some football games.
It's 1988. I meant to say that coach took them as a quarterback to Bowie State to the 1AA playoff. Henry Frazier III.
When you take a look back at Prairie View, I mean, what Coach Frazier had to overcome. I mean, they had an 80-game losing streak, 7 years without a win. And of course, you have to put a real big asterisk on that because they didn't have any scholarships at the time. So basically, Prairie View was competing with a bunch of walk-ons against scholarship players in 1AA football. So they weren't able to be successful. So, I mean, the mentality of the players have to change in the school, but
no question about it. As the quarterback fumbles the ball, it's fallen on and recovered by Prairie View. And, you know, they won 9 SWAC titles throughout their career. The last was 1964 when Billy Nix was the coach of the team. They won 6 in a 17-year period under Billy Nix. He's the winningest coach with 127 wins, and he won 5 Black national titles.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can see 10 wins in the last 3 seasons. And from where this program has come, I mean, that's very much so a success, and they're still building, and they'll get there. I mean, they'll get back to that prominence from when the Panthers were winning, you know, SWAC titles, but they can compete with every team in this conference right now. It's not an easy win against the Panthers.
Here's a pass, and it's in and out of hands of the receiver on the near side, and that was Mark Eisen, who made a great catch earlier, but couldn't hold on to that one.
You can see quarterback Mark Spivey is sitting back in the pocket, and this thing is kind of tipped just a little bit.
Yeah, but you're
at the
supposed
line.
to have that.
Yeah, you gotta look that one in. But man, I tell you what, these Jackson State defenders, if you're anywhere near the football, they're gonna hit you.
And look at coach; he's telling me, "Hey,
use your hands."
Yeah, you gotta. That's how you gotta catch it. Yeah, you gotta turn your hands around. You can't catch it with your hands turned the wrong way.
Yeah, you can't cradle it with your arms, man. Sometimes you have to use those hands. I mean, everybody likes those receivers who can catch with their hands.
4th down now, Prairie View, and now we got movement. The receiver on the far side moved prematurely. That's Edia. He was going before the ball was snapped. number 83.
83, offense, 5-yard penalty, remains 4th down.
So now that instead of going for it on 4th down, they're going to punt it away.
Yeah, I mean, you're at midfield. It only makes sense. I mean, you want to try to go out and make as much happen as you can. You always want to try to put points on the board, but when you go from 4th and 9 to 4th and 14, that's extremely hard, man. Of course, Prairie View will finish up the season next week, going to Alabama A&M, which is going to be a tough task. Of course, they'll be the Eastern Division champ, and always hard playing on the road against a good team.
10th punt today for Prairie View. Did a game a couple of weeks ago where a team never punted at all in the game, and this is the 10th time that Prairie View has punted tonight.
A very stingy Jackson State defense. I mean, I've heard a lot about their defense and saw some clips on some of the players, but to see them in person, wow. I mean, the team speed that they have is very tough and stout at the point of attack. I mean, Coach Darren Hayes, their defense coordinator, he told me that these guys were physical, and they are. I mean, they play a very physical style of defense.
Well, we talked about the people that transferred to Division I transfers, like Marcel Frost, who came from Ohio State, Eric Hall, who came from Ohio State. I mean, you got Pittman, who came from Mississippi. I mean, you got Southern Miss. You got Tennessee. I mean, you've got kids from everywhere. Empty backfield now, 1st down and 10. That's going to be interesting. I figured the quarterback had to be able to, was going to keep it. This is William Brack in the lineup right now, the backup quarterback. We saw him play a little earlier. He's a freshman, actually, from Carver High in Memphis, Tennessee. 3-year starter in high school. Last year, as a senior, he threw for 1,800 yards and 18 touchdowns. And ran for 700 yards and 13 touchdowns. So he fits right into the mold of what they're
Jimmy
trying
Oliver,
to
run
accomplish here.
fast combination.
Right.
But when you talk about Coach Comegys in this Jackson State program and getting them back to those, great teams they had in the 80s and 70s. I mean, look at this stadium that they play. I mean, they have a lot to offer a kid coming here.
Here's Brack up the middle, keeping it and getting the 1st down across the 30 to the 32, and 2 late flags come in. 3 flags come in. The PA announcer just said markers all over the place.
That's one thing when you talk to Coach Comegys, how he gets those Division I transfers, but he says when he gets them on campus, he's able to show them the atmosphere of the things that's going around the city, and also Veterans Memorial Stadium, the home field for the Tigers. They get very
Personal
impressed.
foul, face mask, 45 defense, automatic, 1st down.
Yeah, it was a defensive face mask penalty against Van Salier, the linebacker.
Yeah, he's the leading tackler for Prairie View.
Well, they said 45.
That's
But
97.
that was not 45 that committed that face mask. That was 97, Bayo. Yeah, he's got a whole handful of face masks.
He never let go. I mean, and that's just frustration from a defensive standpoint. I mean, they're not used to giving up 31 points. I mean, Prairie View has been in every game, so you're down 31-7 and put the backup quarterback in there. Of course, he wants to do some things and try to score also.
Yeah, the most points that they'd given up prior to tonight was 53 to Grambling, in which they gave up 518 yards and went 0 for 3 in the red zone. In fact, they had the ball 3 more minutes than Grambling did, but still lost that game 53-7.
A lot of big plays, but I mean, if you look at their record, they had a 3-point loss to Texas Southern, of course, a 3-point loss to Alcorn, 3-point loss to Alabama State, 4-point loss to Mississippi Valley, and a 7-point loss to Pine Bluff. They've been in every game in the conference. So, I mean, they are right there on the edge of being a good team, and they're very competitive in the SWAC. And that's something you couldn't say before Coach Frazier got to Prairie View.
No, indeed, because, a break here or there, that record is a whole lot different than what we're seeing. As Brack is on the carry off to the right side, picks up a couple of yards.
One thing Coach told us with Eric Hernandez, he had to go from a punter and also the place kicker. He had an All-American place kicker who didn't come back and play because of academic reasons. So they said it was a strain. And with all of those close losses, I mean, they pride themselves on playing good physical defense and having a strong running game. So he knows that they're going to be in a lot of close ball games. And he just didn't have the field goal kicker from last year. And that, affects your decisions. When it's 3rd and 10 and you're on the 15-yard line, sometimes you have to go for it just because you don't have an adequate kicker when you were expecting someone to be on your campus and they're not. So
yeah, you're talking about Mario Sanchez was the man who was supposed to be in there. Now we got a flag. illegal substitution against Jackson State. Aaron Gray and the Panthers start college hoops season on Sunday right here on ESPNU, and they'll be doing it against Western Michigan and the Broncos.
I know Coach Comagese, when he sees that final score of Alabama A&M beating Alcorn and winning the East, I mean, first thing he told us, oh, we almost had that one last week. He said we almost squeezed in there, Charlie. We could have had this Eastern Division title, especially winning today, and then their final big game against Alcorn next week. I mean, that Alabama A&M game, they were up 21-6, and then they came back and lost 34-21. But with that win, man, everything would be totally upside down in the East.
Brack hit as he lets it go, but a receiver's there. Almost knocked away, almost intercepted. And Jamar Johnson was the intended receiver downfield. Ed Moore covering defensively. The cornerback, the junior from San Antonio, Texas. Young man who moved from wide receiver last year. And that was a third down play, and it'll bring up a punting situation for the Tigers of Jackson State. They'll be punting from their own 48-yard line, but they lead it 31-7 with 2:24 to go.
I have a special request. Someone wants to hear the show.
Only the third punt of the second half for Jackson State. Fifth of the game. And it takes a Prairie View bounce, and it rolls down at about the 29-yard line. So they'll get the ball one more time here in the ball game. Trailing by 24 points. They had it tied 7-7 and had an opportunity to go ahead, but just couldn't punch it in.
Yeah, they played tough early and played good defense. Offensively couldn't get the running game going, but you kind of expected that with the #1 rushing defense in the conference.
First down at 10. And now it's a different quarterback. Brandon Whitby is in the lineup for Prairie View. A redshirt freshman from Camelback High in Phoenix, Arizona. He's played in 3 games this year. Only the third pass, that one he just threw, that he's thrown all season long. And believe it or not, he's thrown 2 interceptions.
See, both teams are trying to play a couple young players. As you know, the season starts to close out, you have to see what you have, what you need to recruit, how you have to improve your team.
Well, they say he may be the best pure passer out of all the quarterbacks that we've seen today, including Spivey and Gibson. Well, that didn't show much of being a pure passer. He was a catcher on the baseball team, won the SWAC title, and went to the NCAA regionals last year. There he is, Brandon Whitby. Prairie View, one of the top producers of African-American engineers in the nation. Engineering students developed actually the first solar-powered car. So, again, Prairie View has a long tradition. They've true meaning of the word student athletes. They graduate a great percentage of their students, and it was kind of interesting to see an article come out this week in the rating the graduation rate of student athletes as opposed to the regular student body, the percentage.
Yeah, you know what? And sometimes the student athletes are higher than you think. I mean, because you do have the tutors and that type of stuff, but it's so concentrated. I know when I was a student athlete, I always made better grades during the football season because you didn't have a lot of time to study. Man, during the spring, I had too many distractions going on. No coach's supervision, no curfew or anything. So, but both of these coaches do a great job of just, you know, improving the lives of these players. I mean, you're more than just a coach. You're like a father figure, a brother, a mentor, a counselor. It's so many different things you have to do to keep a guy on the field and keep him ready to play academically and physically.
So 1:16 is the time remaining in this one. And here's another pass by Whitby that goes awry. Well, he hasn't shown the pure passing credentials on those last 3.
I tell you what, man, it's a cold night in November and you're down 31-7. It's tough.
Yes, indeed. And you look at the latest Black College poll. SWAC has 2 teams in that. CIAA has 2. SIAC with 3. The MEAC with 3. Albany State jumps into the top 10 this week. Jackson State falls out after they lost to Alabama A&M a week ago. And another punt, the 11th time tonight that Prairie View has punted.
I think it's a cool night, Charlie, because the poor punter, man, he would be worn out if it was a hot day.
As a flag, though, roughing the kicker against Jackson State.
Personal foul, roughing the kicker, 6-9, return team. 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
So they're going to keep the ball after the roughing the kicker penalty. Darrell Scott was the man who was guilty of it.
I tell you what, he'll get an Academy Award for that performance because that was not much of roughing the kicker.
Eric Hernandez, hey, I put it this much tonight. I may as well get some out of it.
Get a first down out of this thing.
Yes, indeed. Eric Hernandez was the SWAC Special Teams Player of the Week last week against Arkansas Pine Bluff. He only punted 4 times in that game. He's punted 10 times tonight.
He may win that Player of the Week just because of the number of times he's had to punt tonight.
That's the 2nd time this year he's won it. Here's Whitby under pressure, and he's hit from behind. Loses yards all the way back to the 40-yard line.
And I can tell you from a defensive standpoint, you know, when you're up, you have a 31-7 lead like Jackson State does. You don't want to give up any free points.
No, indeed.
You want to close the door. So, I mean, Jackson State, they're going to play hard. They're going to try to finish out this game. And even though they won't be the Eastern Division champs, still a very good year for first-year coach Rick Comagese.
Well, one of the things, as you mentioned earlier, Jackson State has to really work on, especially talking about next year, is penalties.
Yeah.
They came into the conference, or the game, leading the conference in penalties.
And they are still leading.
Yeah, they were averaging 91 yards in penalties a game. Tonight, 171. That is just too much.
Uncalled for. I mean, and Coach Comagese is a good coach. Trust me, he'll have that under control.
Well, the final score, 31-7 for the Jackson State Tigers, homecoming 2006. And looks like they were clicking on most of the cylinders today. They had a couple of miscues, but for the most part, they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, strong running attack, great defense. I mean, that run defense really played. Jimmy Oliver started off slow, but had some very big pass plays at the end.
31-7, the final score. Jackson State over Prairie View. Up next, Sports Center U. For more information, log on to your new home for the finest in college sports, ESPNU.com. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Eddie Robinson and our entire ESPN crew, Charlie Neal saying so long from Mississippi Veterans Memorial Stadium in Jackson, Mississippi, where the Tigers celebrate homecoming with a victory 31-7 over Prairie View. Good night.